and these stories reveal both the devastating realities of exploitation and the extraordinary courage of those who refuse to be silenced. Sexploited in America, the docuseries is presented by AGA Media and available to everyone now at salemnow.com.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
A man shot by a Bakersfield cop. I'm Chris Davis. The cop says the man pulled a gun first. That happened during an attempted pullover about 2:15 this morning at Mohawk Street and Sienna Lane in the northwest part of the city, says Bakersfield PD. When the car stopped, one of the people in it bailed and ran. The officer followed and says the guy pulled a gun and the officer shot him. That man was taken to the hospital. No names have been released yet, and the police did not have a report on the man's condition. Whether you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes or no diabetes at all, you should be aware that starting in January, a month's supply of insulin in California will be capped at a $35 copay. That's part of a state law signed by Governor Newsom that goes into effect January 1st. It's called CalRx, and Newsom says that's not subsidized insulin, but it's what several other states have also done, including Illinois and New York. A man died when he was hit on Highway 99 south of Taft Highway early this morning, not once, but twice, says the Highway Patrol. That happened about 2:30 a.m. when that man was walking in the third lane of the highway and was hit by a vehicle that immediately left the scene. The man was then run over by a Honda. That driver stayed and cooperated with police. No name has been made public. Another person has been arrested in the murder of 15-year-old Jacob Jesus Hernandez, which happened back on September 26th on Morning Drive. This weekend, police arrested two 18-year-olds named Estevan Romero Valencia and Joshua Camarena. Now cops report the arrest of a 17-year-old who has been charged with suspicion of murder and gang-related offenses. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it peaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get up close like this. Little thing, you blow their brains all over your nice side leaf soup.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Good afternoon. Here's not Ralph Bailey. He's taking a well-deserved day off for Christmas holiday. And this is Cathy Abernathy filling in for today's show. If you have, well, I think you'll be interested. We have a nice list of guests, and then I will do some talking as well. But welcome to the show and to the online live YouTube version as well, which I haven't really done from this angle. So I will try to make it look as professional as I can, being that there's nobody in here but me listening to guest speakers. They're all calling in today because it's kind of tough during Christmas to be sure that they're in studio too. But I'm thrilled that we have the guests that we have, and I think you will enjoy them too. Most of what I want to do today is point out why we live the way we do in this state. It all comes from that big round dome in Sacramento. It can be stopped, but it can only be stopped one way, well, two ways. How you vote, and then my other cause in life, which I am pursuing as hard as I can, which is why is it that the votes don't reflect on district races what they reflect on statewide races? And so I will go into that as well. We can win in California, put rational, sane people like the people I have on the show today into public office or having an influence in public office, but we can't do it with what we've got right now in that building in terms of the way the seats are drawn so that it elects the most liberal Democrats and very few Republicans, as few as 10% of the entire body. So we will go into that too. But today I start off with he's the mayor of Taft, California, but he's been that they've reelected him over and over because he does a great job. But he's also an expert and so wise in how he presents the energy issues to the media. And I was just watching when I wasn't paying 100% attention to JR, but I was otherwise. I was just reliving watching him when he was taking on Greenpeace, who came into Kern County on a blimp, and they were protesting oil. And gosh, it's fun to watch. I'd encourage all of you to Dave Noerr, Noerr, and Greenpeace. But let's welcome Dave to the show. Dave?
Hello, Cathy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and you gave me a good laugh. Just listen. You're so cool and calm with that woman. I'm not sure what year that was.
That's been some years ago.
Uh-huh.
It was an eye opener for me. I just went down there to talk to those folks. I'm not a big social media presence. My presence has grown since then, but not of my own doing. But I went down there and addressed those folks, and then just went back to work. And within just a few days, there were hundreds of thousands of views and comments, and my phone was exploding. I was offered governorships around the world and from coast to coast, and it was quite something.
Well, it was good, particularly when you asked her what kind of how does this thing move? And you told her, what blimps use helium and other gases. And
it was so ironic that they were protesting oil and gas, and it said Governor Brown saying no to oil and gas, and yet their entire message delivery plan was based on just a few of the wonderful attributes of oil and gas and petrochemicals. Were it not for oil and gas and petrochemicals, I had to tell young Mary she'd be standing there naked just shouting to passersby. So,
well, it's as if she thought they just floated in on that, and that that the air brought them, I guess, and so that they were clean, and what you do for a living isn't. What is, we can call it gas crisis, electricity crisis. There's so much going on in oil. Tell us what you see happening, what these recent law changes, the governor maybe throwing a few bones, but what is it that's going to help this state get out of this mess as well?
Well, what you're referring to is the passing and signing of Senate Bill 237, which codified Kern County's recirculated revised EIR and makes it so that Kern County can once again issue its own drilling permits for new wells, and it's an important step in trying to stop the onslaught of a irresponsible, ridiculous energy policy. And I'm talking about an economic juggernaut. It will absolutely destroy things. You're talking about a state of California, and our governor, Cathy, is so fond of boasting of the fact that it's the fourth largest economy in the world. And that's an interesting boast when, as a part of that economy, 36% of all the families in this state live near or below the poverty level. You have the highest unemployment level in the United States of America. Your EDD is bankrupt, $22 billion in the hole. You have a structural deficit that's going to exceed $30 billion a year through 2028. You have 1 out of every 3 welfare recipients, 1 out of every 3 homeless, on and on and on. So boasting about the fact that we are still the fourth largest economy is really quite ignorant. And unfortunately, ignorance is the cornerstone of the energy policy that has been put in place by Gavin Newsom and Sacramento, and it is destroying the economies of businesses and municipal governments and households all throughout the state of California.
Right. I mean, to try to produce the energy we need, the hurdles are so steep, financial, legal, time-wise. This whole refineries that don't exist. And I don't know if our audience understands how you have to go hand in hand. If you're pulling the oil out of the ground, then what?
Well, yeah, the initial, actually going out and looking for oil, finding it. Let's just make it easy. And you're continuing to do in-field drilling in a known reservoir. So you've got to do the permitting and the geology and drill the well, and then you IP the well, initial production, and the well brings up water and oil. You have to then separate the water and the oil. Refine the oil. You have to get it to a refinery where it is split into gasoline, diesel, propane, hexane, and all of the other products that we use. And once it's done at the refinery, then it has to go to distributors and they send it on to retailers. So there are so many stops that it has to take by the time it finally gets to a point where, the men and women buying it have to pay for it. Government and bad policy, restrictive policy, and the costs to comply with those policies have touched every single gallon of gas and diesel 20 times. And that is the reason it is so expensive. In the state of California, gas and diesel is higher than any state in the United States.
I know I hear President Trump talking about we've got gasoline now at $2.89, and I'm thinking, well, not out here. And that's not his fault. That's our fault. But also remind our audience, this isn't just the gasoline you pull up to a gas station and pump in. This is every single thing. I'm looking at this desk, everything on it, everything in my house, everything is using oil at some point, whether it's transporting it to your home or whatever, or just producing all the things we buy every day. So that cost is embedded, exponentially in every single thing we buy. Even a lettuce head had to get there somehow, right? So
yeah, and it's interesting you talk about that. Talk about the lettuce head. In order to till a field and plant lettuce, you burn diesel fuel. In order to irrigate, you're using electricity, a lot of it in the state of California, produced by hydrocarbons in order to pump the water. And once you grow it, then you have to fertilize it. That comes from oil and gas and petrochemicals as well. Once it's fertilized and it's grown, then you have to harvest it. You're burning diesel fuel again. Then you put the harvested product in trucks and you truck them to a place where they are actually handled and then packaged. And then from there, they're trucked to a grocery store. And the grocery store obviously has to pay for electricity to keep things cool and keep them fresh. Here we go again with the hydrocarbons providing electricity. And then finally, you drive your vehicle there and you spend your money on that head of lettuce.
There you go. There's a chain of life that
cradle to grave, and it's every single aspect of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, so we got this somewhat reprieve or generous, I'll let you guys drill kind of attitude. What do you need, though? What does the industry need to pursue that? Because 1 year from today, we're going to have a new governor and a new legislature, but they'll have a lot of the same faces.
Well, that's true. And California's problem is actually just a global problem times 10. And the largest impetus to capital investment, the biggest barrier to capital investment is regulatory uncertainty, Cathy. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. Chevron USA is moving their headquarters from the state of California. They've been a part of California for over 130 years. And yet, because of the anti-business climate, the regulatory uncertainty in the state of California, they're going to move out. And here's where things really get kind of wacky. The global company that is Chevron, along with several other international players, feels so much better about the regulatory certainty and business climate in Libya, Benghazi, Libya, that they're going to take their money there instead of keeping it in California.
Boy, I hadn't heard that. Libya really is better than California.
Absolutely. But just think about that for a moment. Benghazi, Libya, as a more solid business platform and regulatory certainty such that they're willing to gamble their money there after they leave here with it. Now, if that doesn't tell you that the state of California has created an industry-destroying monster, nothing will. And the oil companies aren't the only businesses leaving the state of California, Cathy. There was a paper done out of Stanford University, the Hoover Institution, that between 2018 and 2021, 352 business headquarters left the state of California. And they're from every cross-section of the business sector that you can imagine, from high tech to finance to manufacturing to industry. That's California.
Yeah. Well, I don't see a change right now in the policymakers up there. And of course, they influence, Los Angeles is no better. The mayor there and the disasters that they help create by their system they set up of government. What do you think the industry needs to see both here to feel comfortable to invest more? Do you think it's maybe too far down the road before they can come back? I mean, they don't need 4 years, they need 20 years of feeling comfortable ahead to invest millions and billions, I presume.
Well, you're right about that, because you're talking about capital investments that don't even start making money for a decade. You're talking about large capital investments. I mean, the modernization of refineries, building of new refineries, which hasn't been done in the state of California since 1975. But the part that government can play in actually helping the consumer the fastest and the biggest, best way that they can show business and industry that they're serious about keeping them here is through deregulation. Lee Zeldin said when he took office, you're going to see the largest deregulation in the history of the United States. Well, state of California, no state, not even the United States of America, can set the value of a barrel of oil on the open market. It is a global commodity, and it is set based on mostly, supply and demand. But what government can do is to back off of the crushing regulatory compliance cost. So deregulate and cut private sector business and industry loose is the way that government can lower the lifting cost of every barrel of oil and lower the production cost of every gallon of gasoline and gallon of diesel and gallon of jet fuel. And that's what it is. That's, government comes in and they hire more employees and they produce more rules and they insist that you provide them with more information and more fines and more fees, and it's money, money, money. And the next thing you know, that $1.25 head of lettuce is costing you $6.75, and you think, what in the world has happened? Well, the governor himself. Let's just look at that briefly. When Gavin Newsom took over the office of the governor of the state of California, the office of the governor had 150 employees dedicated to that office. Right now, that same office has 383.
Wow. And I was upset that our city manager doubled his, but that's real. That's really what's dangerous isn't just the staff and the money, it's what they do all day. They have to create work.
Absolutely. And so therein lies the biggest problem. And Gavin Newsom and the controlling party in the state of California, which has been at it for 2 decades, they own the mess that exists. And that is why people are voting with their feet. They are leaving. That is why businesses are expressing their disdain for the current environment, and they're leaving. And in the most recent review of Chairman Magazine, they contact CEOs from coast to coast and ask them about business climates in the United States of America and where they would take their business. And California has consistently ranked in the same spot, 50th out of 50.
Out of 50, lowest
Right.
ranking. And, who does this really impact when we say people move out, that they think, well, that's just the rich Chevron executives, whatever. No, it's the middle and lower class who have the jobs and need the cost of living to be something rational that suffer the most. They're going to always do okay somewhere, but they're not going to be able to do it in California as a middle income person. And middle income has changed, of course, because you need a lot more to be even called middle income in this state anymore.
It's the people who have a minimal amount of discretionary income, because those extremely wealthy idealists, if you're a very wealthy person, you can afford idealism. You don't care about the fact that in California you're paying 60% more for gas and diesel as any Western state. You don't care that in California you're paying 400+% for every kilowatt hour of energy. 400+%. Cathy. But if you're wealthy, that doesn't matter to you. But if you're the other 98% of the population, it has a very real effect. It has a very real effect on municipal government. It has a very real effect on school districts. It has a very serious effect on any business, and that always ends up in the consumer's back pocket.
Well, we could go so much more that you have, but what do you see? What the voters that keep voting these people into office in Sacramento? You could just mention, because boy, I heard Stan Ellis mention what he saw when you went up there to testify or to try to push these people into rational thought. What did you get back? What did you see there?
Those people are in such deep denial. I've never seen an ostrich could not bury his head deeper into the sand. And the unfortunate reality is that the economic destruction of a hardworking family in the state of California continues unabated while the idealists celebrate each other up there. They're clueless, Cathy, absolutely clueless.
Yeah, they just don't listen. And you and Assemblyman Stan Ellis and others that have made a lifetime of this and stayed here to do it, try to talk some sense, and you can't. Mayor Dave Knorr, Taft, California, but energy expert extraordinaire. We appreciate you so much. You need to write guest editorials for the Wall Street Journal and everywhere else and get it out there. We appreciate your time today very much during this holiday season, and appreciate the knowledge. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right, we're headed to a break right now, and we'll be back right after and make some comments about Dave Knorr and his excellent information he shared.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
The JR Show.
Former Kern County Supervisor Zach Scribner will never see a day in jail, and it's all because of who he knows. His aunt is the district attorney, Cynthia Zimmer, but her sister, Cathy Scribner, sits on the Kern High School District Board. She's the one that called the district attorney the night this all went down, and she's been trying to cover it up ever since, whether she's mad at her sister now for calling the sheriff or whether she's telling the kids to not talk to the police. You, Miss Cathy Scribner, need to step down from your elected position and need to be held on obstruction charges.
Weekdays at 2 p.m.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries here in Kern County. If you are eligible for Medicare and looking for a doctor who listens and cares about you with minimal wait times and prompt referral authorizations, it's time you learned about QualCare IPA. QualCare IPA contracts with most Medicare Advantage health plans and provides you with access to a large network of outstanding doctors and quality hospitals right here in Kern County. Medicare Advantage health plans go beyond original Medicare benefits coverage, and understanding these coverage differences may be confusing. Call us today at 661-554-4544. Let us help you understand your healthcare options for 2025. Call today, 661-554-4544. That's 661-554-4544. Get the information you need and the coverage you deserve. For accommodations of persons with special needs at meetings, call 661-554-4544, TTY 711.
Not again. This copier is always jamming.
We should call American Business Machines.
Since 1927, American Business Machines, an authorized Canon dealer, has been providing reliable office solutions. From state-of-the-art copiers to advanced printers, we ensure your business runs smoothly. Visit abm1.com or call us today at 1-877-YES-ABM1. That's 1-877-937-2261. American Business Machines, your trusted partner for all your office technology needs.
The new year starts with the Condors this weekend with 2 games against the San Jose Barracuda. Friday, it's a $3 Beer Friday with Michelob Ultra and Mango Cart, just $3 till the start of the second period. Plus, it's 80s night with music from the decade. Saturday is Wizard Night with house scarves, just $5. Come dressed as your favorite wizard. Presented by 23 ABC and 3-Way Chevrolet. Doors open at 6. The puck drops at 7. Fun starts at just $15 at condorstown.com or by calling 324-PUCK. This is Condorstown.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 6 p.m. on News Talk 96.
Right now, we're just talking with Dave Knorr, Taft, California energy expert, about costs and what the state of California, when that state of California means the governor, the state senate, and the state assembly. That's who passes these laws, right? Okay, and just the gas tax in this state is 71 cents a gallon. And yet Texas, which has the same stuff in the ground that we have in the ground, it's 20 cents a gallon. So when you fill a tank in California, and most tanks are 14, 15 gallons, when you do that, $14 goes straight to Gavin Newsom. And through the increases that he's pushed over his 7 years. Now we have one more year and I'm sure he'll do something more. But, and by the way, when we tried to repeal that gas tax, and I'll share this with you often because it's the arrogance of that state capitol and the attorney general at the time. The ballot measure that people put up to repeal this gas tax increase that the legislature passed in 2018, we've been living with it now for 7 years. So we got the signatures, we got it on the ballot, qualified, and then came out the words that would be on your ballot when you voted. And since most people don't study those until they get into the booth or at home with their absentee ballot, live ballot, it said a yes vote, which a yes vote was to repeal the tax. A yes vote will reduce the amount of money available to repair roads. So who's going to vote for that? That's the only thing he could say. He could say a yes vote will reduce the gas tax from what it was to what has been proposed. But to get a yes vote, what they put down was if you vote yes, you'll have less money to repair roads. And as you know, our roads could use a ton more repairs, starting with Interstate 5, which has been the same 2 lanes on each side since the beginning of time, and I think it was 1958. So these are things they do that even states like Illinois are 66 cents, or 70. Florida's 39 cents. They're all less tax, and we have the stuff in our ground, and we're not using it, and then we're hitting us up with these ridiculous taxes. So I want you to think about that. I'm going to be talking about it a lot. There's a reason why your problems stem from Sacramento, and don't forget it. And we're going out right now. Coming back in the break, we will have a U.S. congressman on the show with us.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A strengthening bomb cyclone is barreling across the northern United States, unleashing severe winter weather in the Midwest and aiming at the East Coast. The storm brought blizzard conditions, treacherous travel, and widespread power outages Monday across the plains and Great Lakes. Forecasters say the storm intensified rapidly, meeting the criteria of what's known as a bomb cyclone. The Chinese military says it dispatched air, navy, and missile units to conduct joint live fire drills around Taiwan to warn against what it calls separatist and external interference forces. Taiwan says it has placed its forces on alert and called the Beijing government the biggest destroyer of peace. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 249 points. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
A hit and run on Highway 99 south of Taft Highway about 2:30 this morning has left a man dead. The Highway Patrol says the man was hit twice, once by a vehicle that left the scene and then again by a Honda. That driver stayed and is cooperating with the cops. The man's name has not been released. A Bakersfield police officer shot a man this morning around the same time in the northwest part of the city. Police say the man was running from the officer after he bailed from a car that police had tried to pull over, then pulled a gun, resulting in his being shot. That was at Mohawk Street and Sienna Lane. The man is in the hospital. Insulin will be capped at $35 for copay starting in January thanks to a new law in California. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Download to see if you qualify for Albert Instant Advance. Not all customers will qualify. Transfer fees may apply. No Albert subscription is required for Instant Advance. Please see the Albert app or albert.com for subscription pricing. Subscriptions can be canceled at any time.
Kylie, what's wrong? I just got hit with a car repair bill. I'm behind on rent, and I feel like I can never save any money. Have you tried the Albert app? You can get up to a $1,000 advance fast to pay for car repairs, bills, rent, groceries, whatever you need. Plus, Albert can help you find ways to save and give you a custom budget to actually grow your money.
Albert can get me up to $1,000?
Exactly. But they do more than get you up to $1,000. Albert is your financial assistant, helping you budget, save, and spotting you money in a pinch.
I'm downloading Albert right now.
Download the Albert app and use promo code MONEY to get up to $1,000 for your bills, rent, groceries, and more. The Albert app helps you budget better and save more money so you reach your financial goals faster. Download the Albert app right now and use promo code MONEY to get up to $1,000. Use code MONEY to get up to $1,000.
Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, we will be without the services of Lois Henry from sjvwater.org, but we'll make up for it with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, and we're streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
Did I pick that one?
Well, you did say Tina Turner. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I do like her too. It seemed just kind of wild. The show's wild today, right, folks? Yes. Do we have our guest will be on? We have the contrast in what you live with in California with the government that you have in Sacramento, with living in California with the government you have in Washington, D.C., in the U.S. Capitol, is worlds apart. And again, another example of what you get, what you vote for, with the Republican House right now and Senate and a Republican president. And I hope those of you that read the Californian, or you can go online, or Stephen Moore, Moore, he wrote a great piece today about all the accomplishments of the last year. And I'll tell you, those accomplishments wouldn't have happened without a GOP House and with how slim the numbers are without Vince Vaughn and David Valadao, because that's what has made the majority what it is. It's very slim. It hovers between 2 and 3. If somebody sneezes, they have to lock them in a closet to not get everybody else sick. So I'm very happy that we can welcome to the Ralph Bailey Show today, Congressman Vince Vaughn.
Hey, Cathy, how are you?
Very good, very good. And like I said, I don't know if you saw this article, but when you see the list of the things that have gone through the Congress because of having the House Republicans and the hard work that you folks put in, it's really, it's a long list, and it just starts with, federal employment down. That's good news, folks. And bringing down, of course, as I said, the price of gas in other states, but not here, sadly. But tell us about this last year for you, which had to be refreshing compared to the first year you were there.
Well, let me just say, it's good to be the majority.
Yeah.
As someone, as you said before, who served in the super minority in California, it is refreshing to actually have a president and his entire administration that agrees on what we want to do. Cutting red tape, permit reform, building things and like highways and bridges, and investing in our airports and our supply chain, and drilling and giving us affordable, stable, oil supplies, energy supplies. When we talked about national security, peace and strength, investing in our military, cutting taxes, letting people keep what they earn. These are what we've always campaigned on and what we're achieving. So going into next year, certainly we're going to implement a lot of the things that we were able to do. Significant investments in water infrastructure, $1 billion in working class tax cuts act. That one we're working with the Interior Secretary just today, this afternoon. Dr. Oz just announced $233 million in rural healthcare funding for California. I mean, this is our community. We got $50 billion nationwide. $233 million is now going to go into rural communities in California to expand access, improve, telehealth, develop our workforce. We talked about our nursing shortage and our doctor shortage. I mean, so these are the things that we're working on right now that I think don't get a lot of attention from from the mainstream media.
You're right, yeah, and that's good news for a county like Kern, which is mostly rural, to have that kind of funding. And of course, the border, big deal there.
Yeah. I mean, how can I forget about that? That's our one thing. That's our biggest accomplishment, I think. I mean, that was done immediately. And what a difference, a new president makes. The Biden administration said, "Oh, well, we can't do all this. We can't secure the border." And President Trump, in 100 days, got crossings down to almost zero. Now, I think we're pretty much. There's some days where there are zero illegal border crossings right now along the border, which is just a huge accomplishment. And we're going to invest continuously in that. You and I talked before I got on air, but being now on the Homeland Security Committee, I mean, some scary stuff. I mean, I think the latest report that just came out from the committee that we just had the counterterrorism folks, but there was 18,000 individuals that are tied to terrorist organizations that are currently in the United States that we are looking for, that were let in under the Biden administration.
Wow. Gosh.
So I mean, we had this hearing, and the Democrats were just couldn't focus. They were so focused on making political points, they weren't listening to the testimony and to the content that was being provided to the committee. I mean, just think about it. 18,000 known or suspected terrorists were released into the United States during the Biden administration. We have to figure that out. We have to figure out who they are, and we have to make sure that they can't do us harm.
Right, and that we don't have Democrat members of Congress go have a cocktail with them somewhere and defend their right to be here, which is beyond the pale for me. I can't imagine that the Democrat Party is so pathetic at this point. But yes, and I don't know how much of the audience knows, Congressman Vince Fong was just appointed. That there's a time in our history that Homeland Security is huge. It's right now. So we are very fortunate. I know that neither McCarthy or Thomas were on that. And that's really important, Vince. We'll congratulate you for getting on there because this is critical right now.
Oh gosh, well, okay, California too. I mean, look, we have the Olympics coming. We have the World Cup coming. We have America's 250th birthday. We're going to have celebrations across the nation, but we're going to have celebrations here in California. So we have these major events happening, in our community, across our state. The threats of drones. When when it comes to cybersecurity, we had a hearing on that. I mean, I've only been on this committee for a month, and we had a hearing on cybersecurity and the threat of China. China's colluding with Russia. They are attacking our vulnerable cybersecurity networks. The threat. I mean, we now have to use AI for good. The bad actors in the world are using AI to hack into our systems. We have to deploy AI and quantum to protect our systems. We have 4 military installations in our community. From China Lake and Ridgecrest Air Force Base. We have the Fresno Air Wing. We have the Lemoore Air Station. Critical, national security assets. And when people read in the news about the threats going on, whether it's the cartels or narco terrorists or the hacking, I mean, these things are happening in our community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what people are not realizing. And when Gavin Newsom and the Democrats, when they start attacking our federal law enforcement and start demonizing them, I mean, these are the people that are protecting us. I mean, every single day. And we don't talk about what they do, and nor should we.
No,
they're doing a lot of things in our community that we need them to do, and I think that's what the liberals don't understand is that when you demonize our federal law enforcement, we have a hard time recruiting and retaining the best and brightest. We want to encourage people in our community to join the DEA, to work for Homeland Security, to work for the FBI. These are these critical agencies, the Border Patrol, that do critical things that protect us. And when you start demonizing them, that hurts us.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, do the Democrats think that they're making points with Hispanic or other nationalities by doing, like, you don't think that they share like every other group in this country that they want safety, and for the Democrats to say, "Hey, we're fighting to get this crook, is drug salesman, whatever." I can't figure out how the Democrat Party goes out and woos the side of, "Hey, let's beat up cops, let's beat up all the patrol we have." It's frightening, Vince, and I don't know how. When you bring up the Olympics, that just hit me. I didn't think about the fact that that's going to be mobs and thousands and millions of people, and what could happen could be very, very serious.
Well, I mean, look, the progressives are just trying to appease their extreme liberal base. I mean, I think if you talk to the average person, you go down to the Starbucks and say, "Hey, do you support our federal law enforcement officials and what they do?" I would say 90% of them would say, absolutely. I mean, people have been focusing on like human trafficking and fentanyl and the cocaine epidemic that's now resurrecting itself. You had an announcement 2 weeks ago where the FBI and the DOJ just broke up a terrorist plot that 4 or 5 people that were training in the Mojave Desert to attack Americans in Los Angeles, in Southern California. This is in our backyard.
Right.
I mean, these things are not academic conversations. I mean, we have fentanyl rings that are being broken up in Kern County right now. We have, traffickers that are operating up and down the 99 and the 5. We have cartel operations in Fresno, all the way through Bakersfield, operating in our communities or in our forests. I mean, these are. So it's just interesting where you've got Democrats that are like, I want to stop human trafficking. I want to go out. I want to eliminate fentanyl from our communities. But then they won't fund or invest in the very people and operations that do that.
Right. And so then when people go out and protest or fight the cops, that's the result, Democrats, of the message you're putting out. I mean, I'm not being partisan here and you aren't either. That's who's doing it. And it's frightful that they would encourage people to go after law enforcement.
It makes the one. It's like the right hand and the left hand don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like they want security. They want safe neighborhoods, but then they want to demonize the very people that provide us with that environment. I mean, it makes no sense. But I mean, definitely eye-opening things on that committee. I mean, as you mentioned before, being on Sacramento, you don't get exposed to a lot of those issues. But now, on the national scale and the international scale, to see that operate, but then, it's happening. It is okay. I keep re-emphasizing this point, but it's important to tell your listeners, like, this is happening in the Central Valley.
Yeah, right. I read about it and I forgot, but you're right. Mojave is a grooming station now.
And the Mojave Desert. And then I've met with the leaders on base. I mean, they've got, bad actors that are trying to, infiltrate, our cyber networks and things like that. I mean, it's scary.
Yeah.
And so that's where, like, we have to be constantly vigilant, but we have to be investing and staying ahead of our enemies.
Exactly.
I tell people all the time, the threat of China is very real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hard thing. We want people to, of course, live their lives and to not worry about things on the day-to-day level. But like, that's why what we do right now with the Republican-controlled Congress, with the Senate, with the president, that's focusing on peace through strength, that's focusing on homeland security. That's our number one priority as elected officials.
Well, let me ask you, we have a few more minutes before we'll let you go, and I know you're busy with everything. And next week, I presume you're heading back to Washington?
Head back on the 6th. We got a lot of things that we're working on. We're working on permit reform. That's something that we can do a lot of things on the national level. We need a partner in California.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom has lost his mind. He just wants to fight all the time. But if we do permit reform, we'll streamline the red tape on the federal level. We still got to deal with it on the state level. We've got huge water projects that we're going to fund. Hopefully in the coming months. That was part of the Working Class Tax Cuts Act. We're implementing that. We're going to try to allocate the money, the $233 million that we got for rural communities. We saw 4.3% GDP growth last quarter. a lot of the stimulus that's coming through the tax cuts, and that's all happening in Q1 of 2026. We have the Trump accounts. Well, that's not getting a lot of attention, but we have a lot of people in our community that are really interested in matching that. So for your listeners, that's part of the Working Class Taxes Act. Every baby that's born from 2025 on will get a $1,000 account that will be in the name of that child. The parents will be able to invest in it. Families will be able to invest in it. Talk about creating
great idea.
We've got people in our community that are going to try to match that. Those announcements are still being worked out right now. But you saw what happened with Dell. Michael Dell just announced a massive $1 billion match for kids across the country. I think Chuck Schwab just said he was gonna match the accounts for his employees' kids. We've got people in our community that are going to match some of these accounts for a lot of the youth, a lot of the kids that are socioeconomically disadvantaged. I mean, talk about a game changer when it comes to helping the least fortunate in our community. So stay tuned for that. And then we've got a highway bill that we're going to get done hopefully next year. We got to build highways and freeways and bridges.
Stop this
high speed.
Well, I was going to say, I'll tell you, we'll build a Mount Rushmore and put you on it in Bakersfield if you can stop this high speed rail. My gosh, the millions and billions are burning up.
Well, you saw that California just withdrew its lawsuit against the federal government, so they know that they couldn't defend it. But I mean, the fraud now that we see in Minnesota, now there's a lot more attention back up to California when we talk about the pandemic EDC fraud that Cindy Zimmer and Lisa Smitkamp and a lot of the DAs, were going after these cartels that were stealing these benefits from vulnerable families. Imagine, we lost probably north of 32. They can account for 32 billion. Jeez. I bet you it's 60 to 70 billion dollars that was stolen.
That's real money, people. That's real money.
I mean, think about the investments in hospitals, in schools, in forest management, in our highways that Gavin Newsom just let. I mean,
just threw down the drain. Yeah, people made money, but there's never going to be a high-speed run. They're trying to build a station. And the first thing they're going to do, they don't have an interrail or one car, but they're going to build a station in Bakersfield for high-speed rail, and we got to stop that.
We'll have EV poles, self-flying, flying cars. We'll have flying planes and that are autonomous. We'll have autonomous cars before we'll have
exactly
rail, boondoggle that will never get completed.
Right? Yeah. Think of the cars. We could have bought everybody their own car and gas credit card for what they burned up. Vince Fong, Congressman, we appreciate your time today and during the few days that you get to be back in California. Keep up the good fight. We know that it's a battle back and forth, and you're dealing with 50 states and the Senate as well. It's a lot of different agendas, but appreciate that you're getting through so much for California.
We're working hard. Happy New Year, and we'll talk on the other side of January.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Cathy.
Okay, that was a whirlwind through some of what's going on in Congress, but it also shakes you up a little bit. We'll talk about that when we come back after this message.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, we will be without the services of Lois Henry from sjbwater.org, but we'll make up for it with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, and we're streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
One of the highlights of this radio broadcast appears on Thursdays at 4:30. Our money man, Daniel Petrie with Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. You all know by now what Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors are all about. You know that I've turned on staff members who are extremely happy with being a client with Daniel. And I've told you, I've been a client for almost a decade now.
And it is the single most important and smartest financial move I have ever made. If you're staring at retirement late in life and you're in the fourth quarter, call Daniel, 395-9400, 395-9400. Just keep it locked. Tune in every Thursday at 4:30 when it appears on the broadcast. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. Does not constitute a solicitation or offer to buy or sell any security, future, option, or other financial instrument, or to offer or provide any investment advisory or other services to any person in any jurisdiction by Daniel Petrie or MPWA, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. Any views expressed in this broadcast by us are prepared based upon the information available to us at the time, and we are under no obligation to update our views.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000.
This is when mindset comes in.
Someone will be eliminated.
Pressure is coming down.
Trainer Games on Prime Video, January 8th. Watch the trailer on trainergames.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife, and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
I'm the thread that's already inside the house. In the closet, under the bed, in the car. But I don't want your money or your TV. I can't be scared away or negotiated with. I'm patient and quiet. I don't sleep. You can't call the cops on me. You can't even see me. I'm the threat of family fire. And as long as your guns aren't stored securely, I'll be there. Protect your family. Secure all your guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180.
Kern Radio. This is Cathy Abernathy hosting today for a little bit more than 2 more hours. And we just heard from our Congressman Vince Fong. As you know, we have Kern is split in half with the way lines are drawn. We're going to talk about lines being drawn today too, but also David Valadeo has. But Vince Fong's district is Kern, includes King, Tulare, and Fresno County. We used to be an east-west district, but the last redistricting, which was done by an inside job of the Democrats fronted by a commission, stretched it north-south. So then instead of having 2 Congress member in Fresno and a Congress member in Kern County, there's 1 now. And that's another thing that we can change with redistricting reform. But I thought it was significant, and I'm glad that Vince Fong brought it up, is the fact that the Democratic Party nationally and in California is on the side of the people who are breaking laws about being here illegally and doing crime and drugs, that they are in the face and in the way of our immigration officials who have trying to clean up all the people that came in here with what kind of backgrounds. And I have to tell you, I speak very passionately about people coming in from foreign countries because my family came in, but we brought in relatives over the years. They had to fill out so many forms. They had to be checked for health. They had to prove that they had a job when they got here and a place to live before they could get here. And so we spent years helping family come from, well, we call it the old country, but we were Armenians. And my dad was first generation and he came here, but his family did it all right and legally. And there's no reason why it can't be that way. Like, unless you want people to just break every law that's convenient for them. So, where does that stop? Can they just move in and take your house? Well, because they felt like it, they're here. No, we have to have laws. And we're fortunate that if Vince Fong's going to be on the committee that's on our national security, which is a big deal. And like I said, or as he brought up, the Olympics are going to be here. There's going to be a lot of people and a lot of internationals and a lot of danger possible with that. It should be all positive. It used to be all positive, but now we have an attitude about law enforcement generated by politicians on the left that is very negative, and it does hurt. So that's what we're going to see. Now, all these things that happen, I just want to contrast what you're hearing coming out of Washington, D.C., where the majority on one side is both sides, House and Senate, is Republican. And I say that Republican, big R, small r, conservative is a better word, meaning they're not looking to build government to do everything that you should be doing yourself. They're not looking to create a bunch of federal employees with salaries, health benefits, and pensions for the next 65 years to do things that you could do yourself if you just didn't have to pay so much tax. If you just, every time you pull up to the gas station here, that you could take $14 off of that bill and put it back in your pocket because you weren't paying the highest price in the nation to fill your tank with something that comes right out of Kern County's ground. And so I'm hoping that you listen to the point here. It matters. It matters not just who gets elected, but when they vote for Speaker of the Assembly or Senate Leader in Sacramento or Speaker of the House in Washington, D.C. or Senate Leader. It matters. It matters which party, which issues that you share, that those folks share. And it's a big deal to pay attention and watch how different parties go after legislative agendas. But I know a lot of us here feel like our vote doesn't count because we can't shake what's going on in Sacramento, but we can. And I'll go into that in the last hour. But we'll be coming back here with another litany of things that have gone wrong in Sacramento that you need to know about. So with that, this is the Ralph Bailey Show, Kern Radio. We will be back in just a moment.
This is AM 1180 KERN, Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM, Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump is putting Iran on notice. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
As he welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for talks in Florida, the president warned Iran against reconstituting its nuclear program. He said the U.S. military would strike Iran hard if it attempts to rebuild that program. The president has insisted that Tehran's nuclear capabilities were obliterated after military strikes back in June. But Israeli officials have expressed concern about Iran rebuilding its long-range missile capability. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Trump says Ukraine and Russia are closer than ever before to a peace deal, but he acknowledges that negotiations could still break down and leave the war dragging on for years.
President Trump hosted Zelensky at his Florida resort Sunday and insists that Ukraine and Russia are closer than ever before to a peace settlement, although he also noted that the U.S.-led negotiations could still collapse. Negotiators are still searching for a breakthrough on key issues, including whose forces withdraw from where and the fate of the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is one of the 10 biggest in the world. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A strengthening bomb cyclone is barreling across the northern United States, unleashing severe winter weather in the Midwest and aiming at the East Coast. The storm brought blizzard conditions, treacherous travel, and widespread power outages Monday across the Great Plains and Great Lakes. Forecasters say the storm intensified rapidly, meeting the criteria of what's known as a bomb cyclone. The sharp cold front left parts of the central U.S. waking up to temperatures 50 degrees colder than the day before. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 249 points. More at townhall.com.
What if 2026 could be the best year ever for your retirement? It can when you take control of your financial future with physical precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD right now and get your free gold rollover kit valued at $49, yours just for calling. More Americans than ever are discovering the power of rolling over a portion of their IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver. With a simple, tax and penalty-free rollover, you can add stability, security, and strength to your retirement. In times of inflation, uncertainty, or market swings, gold has been a steady, tangible, proven store of value. And in 2026, it could be the key to building the retirement you've always imagined. That's why so many people trust Advantage Gold, the #1 rated gold IRA company in America for 10 years running. Call 800-741-GOLD to get your free gold rollover kit. Call 800-741-GOLD and let 2026 be the year you finally take control. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
A man hit and killed on Highway 99. I'm Chris Davis. That hit and run happened early this morning about 2:30, says the California Highway Patrol. That was in the third lane of 99 south of Taft Highway. Police say the guy was walking in the lane and was first hit by a vehicle that drove off. Then a Honda ran over the man as he lay in the lane. That driver stayed and talked to police. The man died at the scene, and his name has not yet been released. Police would appreciate a call if you know anything about the first vehicle. A police shooting also happened early this morning. A man who ran when police tried to pull over the car in which he was a passenger pulled a gun and was shot by the officer who was running after him, say reports from Bakersfield PD. That happened about 2:15 this morning at Mohawk Street and Sienna Lane in the northwest part of the city. The man was taken to the hospital, and police have not said anything about his condition. His name has not been made public, and neither has the name of the officer involved. If you've been following the story of the arrests of two people and the shooting death of 15-year-old Jacob Jesus Hernandez, which happened back on September 26th on Morning Drive, police now say a third person has been arrested. That person is 17 and no name has been released. That teenager was arrested on suspicion of murder and gang-related activities. The other two people who were arrested Saturday are Estevan Romero Valencia and Joshua Camarena. If you would like to help the folks in your community and you are a resident of Bakersfield, the city is looking to fill positions on some committees and commissions for the new year. That includes the Historic Preservation Commission, Keep Bakersfield Beautiful Committee, and the Police Civil Service Board, and Public Safety and Vital Services. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get a post like this. Bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Well, with this segment, we're going to hear a report, and this is not just Cathy Abernathy's ideas. These are legitimate. Well, what I say is legitimate too. But Katie Grimes, I've talked to her on the show before. She has a column. I encourage you to Google and look at the California Globe. There's Katie, Katy, Grimes, Grimes. She writes excellent articles in Sacramento about what's going on in that capital. And she came out with a big piece a week ago, so you're probably caught up with Christmas and you maybe didn't focus on it, but it is excellent. I think our local media should be covering more of this, and I don't know that we see it enough. It's called The Top 50 Disasters Governor Gavin Newsom Has Ushered into California. Just the top 50, not all of them. And I don't know if I even want to know how many there are, but the top 50 are pretty gross. And so I've asked her to come on the show today, and she is. And I want to welcome to the Ralph Bailey Show on Kern Radio, Katie Grimes. Katie?
Hi, Cathy. Good to be with you.
Thank you. And thank you for this is break time for a lot of people, particularly in that state capital, but we appreciate you sharing some time with us.
Absolutely.
Tell us about this research and this article that you've done here. It's just stunning what you point out.
Yeah, it's not good news, I hasten to say. This is the 2025 edition. I do one of these every year and a half. So this is just kind of the updated version since Governor Gavin Newsom has been governor of California since 2019. And a lot of this comes from our own articles. California Globe has been around since 2018. So a lot of the research is our own. I certainly tap into lots of other good research. But and a lot of it people already know because they're experiencing it, like number one on the list, not just because it's the most important or anything, it's just number one, water rationing. And I ask in California, how can we have a water crisis when the state borders the Pacific Ocean and the Sierra Nevada mountain range is here, 400 miles north to south, 50 miles east to west, drains into more than 15 rivers, 6 lakes, and numerous creeks. So, I mean, you know where I'm going with this.
That's
we have
stunning.
plenty of water. Yeah, we're just not storing it. And so our government and our governor, this one is probably one of the worst about this, just tells us to suck it up, Buttercup, and ration your water. Do not water your little lawns, as Jerry Brown loved to tell us.
Right, and notice last year when we had the deluge of rain, what Newsom responded to was flooding. I'm saying,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have flooding.
I know, but we still in Sacramento County, they still told us do not water your lawns, and it's like,
oh god,
we had all this rain, there's plenty of water. I just drove over the Sacramento River yesterday, and it is so high and so full. And unfortunately, the bulk of it's probably just going to go right out through the Delta to the Pacific Ocean.
And as I say, whenever I debate the left on this, I say there is the same amount of water on Earth today as there was 2.5 million years ago. It's all a cycle. It's not like you flush that toilet, it's gone. But just it's just natural what's going on.
No, this is government, definitely.
Yeah. So what are a couple some others that you witness that all have solutions? That's what's so sad. They're all solvable.
Well, exactly. And not to be Miss Doom and Gloom, but yeah, whether it's high taxes, I mean, we have some of the highest taxes in the nation, as we know, as everybody knows. A lot of us even just paid our property taxes, which thanks to Prop 13 are still not, they're kind of middle of the road, but they're not low. So, we suffer under the high taxes. We now have a state that's talking about doing the billionaire tax, 5% tax on all their unrealized income, meaning we're going to tax you on your expensive washer and dryer as well as what's in your, stock portfolio. We also have the issue of, more than 4 million people, probably closer to 5 million people have left California for other states. You and I know we lost a congressional seat, probably should have lost a couple more had Gavin Newsom not imported so many illegal immigrants into the state to kind of make up for that.
Right. They also hire people, the census out here. And in this area, they hire the Dolores Huerta Foundation to go out and do counting. And that I always used to point out to people when people like Kevin McCarthy ran for Congress and won, they got a couple 100,000 votes. You run in downtown LA and those districts, you're lucky to get 80,000 because there's not the people aren't there.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. We have $8 to $12 per gallon gas company coming, courtesy of this governor who has not only with his policies and regulations and open hostility to oil companies. You in Kern County know this better than I. We're shutting down refineries. We've written so many times about this. I'm tapped in with these wonderful experts who are helping get this information out there. But I mean, California was home to over 40 operating refineries in my lifetime, in your lifetime. And, we're down to 7, I think, and we're about to lose a couple more.
And our population has shot up, which means our drivers and cars are, oh my goodness, in 40 years, geez.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's obviously that's a problem that's knocking on our door right around the corner.
Yeah.
that's going to hit a lot of people very, very hard.
We're probably going to wish we had $4.60 gasoline per gallon in the next year.
Yeah,
Oof.
I know, but it will wake a lot of people up, and they will start asking questions, and it will quickly become clear whose fault this is. One of the other things that I've been writing about, for many years, is the increasing pornography in our kindergarten through 12th grade curriculum. And I have a good link to it. I've written so many articles about this. I've researched it. I've gotten information from the California Department of Education. I mean, we have school books, and I've put them in my articles. Mom's holding them up, and I'm taking a photo of them, showing graphic sexual acts, but depicted in cartoon form, which, is clearly designed to target kids. And we have a legislature that has allowed this. So that is, pull your kids out of public school, please.
Yeah, that's tragic. That, and then later I've got some stats on how bad. Well, you probably have it here too. Education scores compared to charter schools and private schools. There's no comparison. Public schools failing at the job.
None at all. And we're spending the most we've ever spent per pupil. Yeah, and it's all going to the fat administration. It's kind of like this management class in education, which really doesn't do anything other than take home big fat salaries and pensions.
Yeah, if you notice, both in the under 12th grade as well as college, the goal is to be a teacher and get into that administration as fast as you can. And that's it's ridiculous size of administrators versus teachers even.
Yeah, it is. It's just the education bureaucracy is trying to keep up with our state bureaucracy, which has, I have to say, when you look at all of the employment and unemployment statistics, the one segment of our economy that is growing quite rapidly has been government.
Mm-hmm. The private sector jobs can't be created if everything the government does just adds to the cost of being an employer. And so then he has to make a choice. And that's where I keep saying to these people on the left that argue with me on some of this stuff, have you ever gotten a job from a poor person? I mean, really?
Exactly.
You don't.
I know.
So people with money do spend it. They either enlarge their business, hire more people, whatever. Then if they buy a yacht, more power to them because somebody built that yacht. Somebody got paid to drive it down 99 to bring it to somebody. It's anyway, crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this billionaires' wealth tax. I love people that sneer at billionaires, and I say, I'm sorry, we call those employers where I'm from.
Exactly.
They are innovators. They're creative. They're stimulating the economy. They're hiring a lot of people. It's just this insane jealousy that is made its way into the government class.
Well, it was created by the politicians like our governor that, stick their nose up, even though they have buddy with a lot of them, but they try to paint it as us versus them, which is baloney, because them is how all of us that aren't our own employer have jobs. And plus, like you just said, they create things that we desperately need.
Exactly. I know. So, it's just kind of amazing. Remember Gavin Newsom tried to pass a tax on what he called windfall profits on oil companies after he tried to convince all of California that they were making these windfall profits, and that's why our gas prices were so high. We obviously, along with some other in the media, have proven that is quite wrong and outlined for you every step of the gas taxes that have added on to create our, highest in the nation gas prices.
Right.
State, and it's state that keeps increasing it, not federal.
Exactly. I was saying about $14 of your tank every time you fill goes to Gavin Newsom's pocket.
That's a perspective, Cathy. I think I might steal that from you and use it in an article because that's very real.
Yeah, that's what it adds up to. You mentioned then you also in here, I think number 34, you were talking about what he did when he got into office compared to what he said before he got into office, where he started granting reprieves for death penalty murders and then shutting down prisons, which I know we had that here. And yet we have so much need for space for bad people and he's shutting them down. That's stunning.
Yeah, it's outrageous. It's all being funded by some of these kind of very dangerous billionaire oligarch types that run their money through philanthropic organizations, and call it Newtown, or they're anti-crime people. But it's all going. When you have a state that is letting people out of prison, as Gavin Newsom did, particularly during COVID, 76,000 inmates out, and closing prisons, and importing criminal illegal aliens into the state, we have a problem.
Yeah.
The voters very smartly passed Proposition 36 last year, but Gavin Newsom won't fund it. So it's being left up to county DAs and county boards of supervisors to make funds available to implement at least Prop 36 in counties, and it is making a difference, but not the way it should throughout the state if Gavin Newsom would just fund it.
Right, and that was our DA here, Cindy Zimmer pushed hard on that, and it did pass, which is surprising in this state with the kind of campaigns run against it. But that was to put teeth back in some of these laws that have been so weakened. And while you're saying that, I'm reading number 40, which is that Newsom sued Orange County's city of Huntington Beach that they didn't provide enough, quote, affordable housing, which in my book is government housing, but his own county, where Gavin Newsom lives in Marin County, they have a moratorium that no affordable housing built until 2028, which means they'll move that date down the road too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a lawmaker in the California legislature from Marin County, I believe it's Assemblyman Mark Levin, who ran the bill on behalf of Gavin Newsom to exempt Marin County. And then lo and behold, last year, Gavin and his wife miraculously purchased a $9 million home in Marin County. Yeah. He had a $3 million home before. Now we're up, sold it, and then now we're up to $9 million home.
$9 million home. My goodness.
You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. Most governors have a little bit of self-respect that they wouldn't do something like that, particularly while they're in office, but not this guy.
No, not at all. And the city of Huntington Beach sued Governor Newsom back and was doing well in state courts, but I think just recently lost on appeal. I really hope they pursue this one. I'd love to see it go high.
Yeah, that's and to hand select that's a small area, hand select something like that.
Exactly.
And we have a state where I can't afford to live in Beverly Hills, but somebody else can. So let them. But you can't tell them all to have all districts have to be of a certain income level.
We also have Gavin Newsom having expanded Medi-Cal coverage, that's California's Medicaid, to every illegal alien in the state. And he expanded it so much it cost taxpayers $12 billion. And now it's insolvent, which we have an $18 billion budget deficit. So like 3/4 of that is the Medi-Cal expansion. It is just unbelievable, just irresponsible budgeting and monkey business, frankly.
How do you think this budget deficit, what's he going to do? This June, he's going to move stuff off so he can get out of office and it won't explode as much? Or how will he do that?
Yeah, he'll try. It's, the last two governors particularly have their little games and tricks and, little budgeting techniques to try to wipe out some of the massive debt. However, recently, Cathy, we have a state auditor that has called out this governor for 8 state agencies being categorized high risk. And one of those is his own Department of Finance.
That's inside the governor's office.
Yeah, Houston, we have a problem. The Department of Finance only answers to the governor. So, this is a mess, and I don't think it's going to shake out well.
No, I really encourage our audience, as I say, Katie Graham. Katie, what is your best way to reach and read your materials?
CaliforniaGlobe.com. We have no paywall, so you can, go on it 15 times a day if you want. We post lots and lots of new articles every day. We send out 1 email a week on a Friday morning with stories you might have missed during the week if you don't have time to read it. So if you sign up for that, it's very easy. We do not inundate your email box. And then we are on Twitter/X and Facebook and Truth Social.
Okay. Great. Katie, we could talk forever. This stuff is so good, and you have so much good facts. And again, for our audience, this stuff happens because of who is elected in that Capitol building and the governor's office. And we got to take it more seriously. And your friends and family, maybe they're around right now, and share this kind of information, because you're not seeing it very often. And when you do see things, it's very minor spending. This is humongous, outrageous overspending and bad spending. And then yet he's still getting away. Katie, has he done anything about LA and the fires and what's the no future there? Jeez.
No, there's no answer. It is absolutely shocking what the fire victims in Pacific Palisades and Malibu and Altadena have gone through. I think one house has finally been completed, being rebuilt. Over 6,000 houses were burned to the ground, and like 12,000 structures total.
Right. We're going to have the Olympics there, and I'm just wondering what they're going to do. Yeah. They're going to build a big black wall around all of it because it's in a modern American city. That's tragic to share. Katie, thank you. We're going to go to a break, and I appreciate your time during this week, and please keep up the good fight and keep us educated.
Absolutely, Cathy. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Well, we're headed to a quick break, and I'll be back to comment on this and anything else that may have transpired during the last few minutes, but I appreciate Katie Grimes sharing this important information with us. This is the Ralph Bailey Show. We'll be right back.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, we will be without the services of Lois Henry from sjbwater.org, but we'll make up for it with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, and we're streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000.
This is when mindset comes in.
Someone will be eliminated.
Pressure is coming down.
Trainer Games on Prime Video January 8th. Watch the trailer on trainergames.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife, and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
Download to see if you qualify for Albert Instant Advance. Not all customers will qualify. Transfer fees may apply. No Albert subscription is required for Instant Advance. Please see the Albert app or albert.com for subscription pricing. Subscriptions can be canceled at any time.
Kylie, what's wrong? I just got hit with a car repair bill. I'm behind on rent, and I feel like I can never save any money.
Have you tried the Albert app? You can get up to a $1,000 advance fast to pay for car repairs, bills, rent, groceries, whatever you need. Plus, Albert can help you find ways to save and give you a custom budget to actually grow your money.
Albert can get me up to $1,000?
$1,000? Exactly. But they do more than get you up to $1,000. Albert is your financial assistant, helping you budget, save, and spotting you money in a pinch.
I'm downloading Albert right now.
Download the Albert app and use promo code MONEY to get up to $1,000 for your bills, rent, groceries, and more. The Albert app helps you budget better and save more money so you reach your financial goals faster. Download the Albert app right now and use promo code MONEY to get up to $1,000. Use code MONEY to get up to $1,000.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Okay. Well, we got a couple minutes here before our news break, and I didn't bring up another one of the great 50 points that Katie Grimes has to share. Basically, that Governor Newsom is the first governor to make homelessness a way of life. He has spent $37 billion of your tax dollars supposedly helping the homeless crisis. Do you know how many Marriott hotels he could have built for $37 billion and housed all these folks if they need housing, which they really need to have more than that. They need to be in locked areas where they have to get treatment and can't get back out to where the drugs and things are. But and we just sit here and keep paying our California taxes and these property taxes and everything. And and I do want to remind you that when she mentions how Prop 13, which is wonderful, it held down the property taxes on you. When you sell that house, the next person that buys it, they get hit with a big increase. So they wait till you sell it. And again, when we talk about how young working families can't buy homes, a lot of it is that. It skyrockets. So that's another nice penalty that I don't know why, if we limited Prop 13 to the certain percent increase, it shouldn't jump just because you sell the home to someone particularly. But so the homeless issue is so massive, and that kind of money just thrown at it to make him feel good in a legislature that didn't stop at the budget vote and say, we will not vote for this. Republicans all voted no, but excuse me, the rest of them didn't. So $14 a tank goes to him every time you buy gas. I'm hoping that we wake up and we do something about it. It's even making me choke right now thinking about it, and I don't know how to push there's the cough button. I got to learn to use it. But coming up next, an important leader of the American Energy Institute coming from Texas. He's going to talk with us, share us some of his thoughts, and we'll be right back. This is the Ralph Bailey Show.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump warned Iran on Monday that the U.S. could carry out further military strikes if the country attempts to reconstitute its nuclear program, as he held wide-ranging talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his home in Florida. Trump had previously insisted Tehran's nuclear capabilities were completely and fully obliterated by U.S. strikes on key nuclear enrichment sites in June. But with Netanyahu by his side, Trump raised the possibility that suspected activity could be taking place outside those sites. A strengthening bomb cyclone is barreling across the northern United States, unleashing severe winter weather in the Midwest and aiming at the East Coast. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 249 points. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Chris Davis. A police shooting in Northwest Bakersfield in the early morning hours. Police say the man who was shot pulled a gun on a Bakersfield PD officer who was running after him when he took off running from a traffic stop. That happened about 2:15 at Mohawk Street and Sienna Lane. The man was being treated for his wounds. No names have been released. About 15 minutes later, a man was hit and killed on Highway 99 south of Taft Highway in the third lane, where the Highway Patrol says he was walking about 2:30. A vehicle hit him and then took off. When he was laying there, another car ran over him. That driver stayed. The man died at the scene, and his name is yet to be released. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Vance Furtado.
Hi, my name is Vance Furtado, and I saw Paul Sheldon's advertising, and my wife and I were going to need to begin Medicare very soon, and we thought he would be a great guy to talk to. And we were not disappointed. He and his staff were excellent. They provided much needed guidance for us, and we would recommend Paul Sheldon and his agency to anyone desiring help when it comes to figuring out the confusing world of Medicare. Medicare can be so terribly confusing. That's why my wife and I were so glad that we went to Paul Sheldon. He and his staff were incredibly helpful to us. So I would recommend Paul and his agency to anyone. Thank you, Paul, for all the help that you provided, giving us an excellent sense and direction of how best to satisfy our needs when it comes to Medicare.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298. We've all been there. Sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
Oh, our favorite DUI gal got to spend her birthday in jail, and I couldn't be even more excited. Miss Madison Williams, I hope you enjoyed your birthday in jail. I hope you enjoyed Christmas in jail. And I truly do hope, like you have claimed, to have found God. Please, please, get some help.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Clock strikes upon the hour and the sun begins to fade.
All right. Well, from Californians pointing out what's wrong in California, which is what we've kind of been listening to, but I'm hoping that you're all learning something that maybe you can share with those people who disagree with you about California politics. But interestingly, even people in other states, experts, national leaders on the energy issue, are writing about what a mess has been created by California government. And today we have calling in from Texas, the leader of the American Energy Institution. His name's Jason Isaac. He's been a state legislator in Texas. I think he could get elected here so easily because his agenda of things that he's done as a state rep in Texas was reduce taxes, strengthened election integrity, improve public education, preserve the Second Amendment rights, private property rights. I think he'd get elected in Kern County real fast. And now I see that he's not in the legislature now, but his wife is actually in the state legislature in Texas. But he is leader and founder of and CEO of the American Energy Institute. Jason Isaac, who's been analyzing California and written a very good article that ran in a few major newspapers this past week. Jason, welcome to the Ralph Bailey Show.
It's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yes, glad to read your article, and I wanted to have you help share it with our listeners. It's called Cali Affordability Crisis is not an accident. It's the product of failed leadership. Share your points with us on that.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Did some research previously, and you look from 2022 to 2023, there was a 30% increase in people that were losing their access to their electricity. They were getting disconnected. This was a nationwide average. It was a 76% increase in people that were getting their natural gas disconnected, that primary utility they use to heat their homes in the winter, cook with, heat water. But then I started digging into the numbers a little bit more into California, because I've long warned what's happening in California is not far behind in Texas. We've been going down really the same road, even though we're a red state. We've embraced this all of the above energy policy, which includes heavily subsidized Chinese supply chain dependent electric generation, which is weakening our grid. But California is really the leader, if you want to say leader, and I guess maybe jumping off the cliff. Today, there's 3.4 million meters that are behind on their utility bills in California. I say meters because it could be a family, it could be a small business that's behind those meters. 3.4 million. It's over $2.2 billion that are back due on utility bills. And those people that live behind those meters are at the greatest risk of homelessness, because whether you buy a home or you lease a home, there's requirements in those contracts. If it's your homeowner's insurance, you have to have your utilities connected. If it's your lease, you have to have your utilities connected. And so when you don't have your utilities connected because you can no longer afford them because of the policies that people that you've probably voted for, maybe not in this case of your listeners, they put in place, they've made costs go up. They're making it expensive and unreliable. And that's just leaving millions of people in California at the greatest risk for homelessness. So it really serves as a warning, not only for the rest of the country, but really the rest of the world.
You know, I've never thought of it that way. I think about people that are in debt on their credit cards. But this is on debt to your utilities, which it goes with the facility. And yeah, how do you ever get out of that? And of course, then they start raising it on those of us that do pay, I suppose, because they've got to make up this money somehow. You're talking about a couple $2 billion that in debt already.
Yeah, staggering. That's from the beginning of this year. So those numbers could increase significantly here early next year as we get updated information coming in, because the cost of electricity hasn't decreased in the last year in California. It's gone up. So it's likely you're going to see that number way above $2.2 billion in debt. But you're right. The people that can afford to pay their electricity bills now are covering those costs with even higher utility bills. The government's having to step in and offer assistance program, welfare programs to help people keep their lights on. And they're mandating that utilities not shut them off altogether. And so that's just being borne by the people that can afford to pay their bills now.
Right. And that is another issue. The utilities aren't allowed to shut it off. On the other hand, I hope these people that haven't paid are being honest about it and not paying other things, knowing that, I don't know, it's called a loophole. You can't let people not have those facilities. On the other hand, you have to pay for living in this state. And that is not something I had considered. That's what was fascinating about this article. And that's one of the first paragraphs there. So what's more that you point out here about coal-free decision that our mayor of Los Angeles is proud about?
Oh gosh, she was just beaming a couple of weeks. Just the smuggest grin I've ever seen on a politician's face. Just boasting about how now LA is now 100% coal-free. So they've been down this path for years now. What it led to is a Navajo electric generation facility in another state that employed hundreds of people that I've been working since 2016 to keep online. But the Obama administration and then the Biden administration, they forced the closure of this coal-fired power plant, big, beautiful, clean coal. And I say clean because we used to produce 50% of our electricity from coal in this country, and we became world leaders in clean air when we were doing it. And that's what people don't understand. Our polling shows that over 60% of the population doesn't realize that we're world leaders in clean air in this country. When the Clean Air Act was passed, it intended to focus on 6 criteria pollutants that in certain concentrations can impact people's health. We've reduced those pollutants nearly 80% over the last 5 decades. In fact, during the COVID lockdowns, we took half the cars off the road. You think there'd be a significant improvement in air quality, and there wasn't. In some cities, air quality got worse. We are at a natural state when it comes to air quality in this country, and overwhelmingly the majority of the population doesn't know that. They also don't know that we're number one when it comes to access to clean and safe drinking water. Same time frame, 50 years ago, less than 40% of our municipal water systems met the lowest standards. Today, over 90% meet the highest standards. There are 7 billion people on the planet that would love to be able to have the access to electricity and clean water that we do, and they certainly love to have the access to clean air that we do, but they don't. They're burning animal dung and tires, anything that they can combust to heat water up to make it somewhat potable, just to eke out a meager living.
Yeah, the credit that should go to the American industry, the scientists, all the entrepreneurs that have. I tell people, I remember in Los Angeles when I went to UCLA and I lived 2 hours east of it, so I had to drive west to LA to go there every month when I was home. And it used to be this dark brown. You just hit it, all of a sudden you saw it, and it was so hideous. I haven't seen that in 20 years, 25 years, and again, it's because of all these reforms on the automobiles. We've done it, we've cleaned it up, but then people fight it, like the mayor of Los Angeles.
Yeah, they want to force electric vehicles which would you actually look at the wear and tear on the tires, having to replace tires. Those tires are wearing down faster because the engines have higher torque. You're actually creating and increasing the particulate matter, the PM, coming off of those tires with electric vehicles. There's been numerous studies show that they really don't do anything to improve air quality. And practically, again, we're at a natural state. You've got some geography issues working against LA. But one thing I advocated for during the first Trump administration is he said when he got elected, he represented the people of Pittsburgh, not the people of Paris. And he pulled us out of the Paris Accord, which is a silly thing based on CO2 emissions, which people, I think, are learning the fact that CO2 and climate, CO2 is not the control knob for climate. It's actually something that's necessary for life on Earth. It's a trace gas in our atmosphere. We're incredibly low on the amount that we have in our atmosphere right now. I live a high carbon lifestyle. I think the rest of the world should too. It's where you have economic prosperity and environmental leadership. But as we've increased regulations on businesses, they've left California and they've gone to China. China doesn't care about human rights. They don't care about environmental protection. And you look at Southern California and LA, over 60% of the pollution in LA is Asian air pollution that has made its way across the Pacific. So I advocated for a Pittsburgh Accord. Let's call on our trading partners to meet air quality standards that improve human health. That would lock up China. Maybe they would actually start using some of the pollution control technology that we do. They've stolen from us here. They don't use it. It would be nice if they did. That would certainly improve the air quality in Southern California, which again is already great. But it could be even better if Asia would get along and say, you know what, okay, we're going to use pollution control technology like they do in the United States.
Now, can you explain that a little more? For those of us, we cross a big high mountain to drive 2 hours to Los Angeles. So can you explain a little clearer for us the Chinese Asian pollution, how we are getting that?
Yeah, so here in the United States, our manufacturing, our power generation, our industry, we use things that are called bag houses and scrubbers to remove the criteria pollutants, particulate matter predominantly, mercury, the volatile organic compounds, nitrous oxide, things that are, again, harmful in certain concentrations. They're mostly safe, certainly here in the United States, but Asia doesn't use those. And so over the troposphere and in the atmosphere, their pollution, it rises up to certain levels. There's a couple of different levels of the atmosphere that certain pollutants are going to sit in, and then they will blow across the Pacific Ocean and settle because of the mountains around California and the geology of where LA is. They're going to sit right in that basin there. And that's where again, it's over 60% of the pollution in Los Angeles is Asian air pollution. You could take all the cars off the road. You could shut down industry, which they're really doing, and you're still going to have pollution from Asia coming in. Actually, it's going to increase because as you increase those regulations, the jobs, the manufacturing, the demand doesn't go away. We just export the jobs and we import the pollution. That's why the current administration, I think, is doing a great job in lowering the cost of energy. We've got work to do with our utilities to reduce the cost of electricity because they've embraced these European political agendas that do nothing to mitigate a changing climate. They just increase the cost on everything. And utilities love to pass on those costs because they're guaranteed a 10% rate of return. Mm-hmm. And that's why people are struggling to pay their bills because utilities have spent willy-nilly on green bling, as I call it. That's just increased the cost of electricity bills here, and it's led to a deindustrialization around the world. We need to make sure that doesn't happen in this country. Bring industry back, because everything that we consume, we should be producing right here in the United States because we produce it more responsibly than anywhere else on the planet.
We sure do. And that's the tragedy here of our oil industry is so crippled by state law, and yet they're willing to import it from not just foreign countries, but dictators and people who have none of these standards on them. And yeah, you need to do an article on your Asian pollution. I think that would hit Los Angeles hard, and it might make them straighten up a little bit because they are bringing the world there for the Olympics, and that brings a lot of attention. But between their fires and fire hydrants with no water, and now they've got to deal with this while they are so willing to do business with China and not support the industry that you are a key leader in.
Yeah, California is importing 21% of its oil that it refines from Iraq. They're importing 20% of its oil from Brazil, which is, there's no way those countries produce oil more responsibly than we do here in the United States. California admits it has a need for it because it's importing it from other countries when they're standing right over it. They're standing over the key to reducing the cost of energy. They're standing over the key to ending poverty, and that E is that key is the hydrocarbons that are under your feet right there in California, and there's so much of it. It's completely off limits. These policies like California banning fracking and New York banning fracking have been so detrimental to economic prosperity in those states.
Yeah, I've often thought if we could change the name fracking to rainbow or something, maybe they think it sounds horrible, but wow, think about Iraq, think about that we're importing. It really is tragic. What do you see on the horizon? Because, these costs are going up. The public hasn't quite woken up. And on this show later today, I'm going to explain to California voters why you don't see a change. And it has to do with redistricting, which I know is supposed to be too intellectual, but it isn't. I want to be sure we focus on that. And the organization that you lead, the American Energy Institute, what's some of the new things that you expect on the horizon that will help our energy issues, at least in states that welcome it?
Well, I think what you're going to continue to see is you're going to continue to see the current federal administration approve offshore leases, potentially around California, which would be great to produce that oil and gas and get it inland and get it refined. We've got to expand our refining capacity here in the United States. I think as the cost of energy decreases, that powers that industry. This is what China has done. China's been buying cheap oil from Venezuela, from Iran, from Russia. They're buying this cheap oil. They're importing it. They've been expanding their coal-fired electric generation. They build 2 coal power plants every single week. Again, I wish they would turn on the pollution control technology, and I wish we were building that many here in the United States, because our coal is so much cleaner here in the United States. And with those pollution control technology, it's fantastic. But they've been doing this, and what they've been doing is they've been expanding their refining capacity. Just in the last year, China, which I think is one of our greatest threats, China has been exporting energy. They've never been an exporter of energy, but now they produce so much electricity, they can run those refineries on cheap electricity. They're exporting jet fuel, home heating oil, and diesel fuel. And this is something where America has got to get back on being leaders of expanding and building new refineries so that we can export those products like we're doing with liquefied natural gas around the world. We need to be exporting more goods, bringing back industry here to the United States. I don't think California is going to get on the bandwagon of doing this. I think they're going to continue to increase regulations, continue to mandate electric vehicles, and really price people out of the state. You mentioned something in my bio about election integrity and getting elected there in California, possibly with some really true election reforms where we have true fair elections in California. I think you would see a big swing, but I think that's some time away, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, we've got to change this. Everybody, live ballots just all over the state, on the floor, trash cans. They just throw everybody a ballot. No ID when you go vote. In fact, the people at the polling place say, no, don't show it to me. Really, really sloppy, messy, and dangerous situation. But that's another subject for another day. Jason Isaac, we can read more of your materials at the American Energy Institute, and I do encourage people to Google this one. It appeared in the Orange County Register, and if you want it, you can email me and I'll send it to you folks too. But I sure appreciate your time calling in from Texas. Best to all of you and your governor, and the good work that you're doing there.
Amen. Thank you so much. Keep living the high carbon lifestyle, and God bless. Have a happy new year.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, we have time for a quick break, and we'll talk more as we come back.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 K. Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, we will be without the services of Lois Henry from sjbwarner.org, but we'll make up for it with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, and we're streaming live on the
these
internet.
guys are pretty tired right now. We got nobody, but nobody calls in or anything.
6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Hello, everybody. It's Jeff again. I want to take this time to say thank you and wish you a very Merry Christmas. I've got my grandkids with me to help me say this. Here's Ariana, Pierce, Ivy, Emma, Stanley.
Oh, it just sits there?
Well, Meredith, she's here, but she's just not talking just yet. So here you go, kids. And here's a passage that we read in the Bible that gives us a reason for the season. Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were greatly afraid. Then the angel said to them, do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. For there is born to you this day in the city of David a Savior who is Christ the Lord. At this time of the year, when we celebrate our Savior's birth, we just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. And we'd also like to wish you and yours a very Happy New Year's. May this be the best year ever for you and your family.
Happy birthday, Jesus.
Salty's Barbecue and Catering, 9425 Rosedale Highway and 6801 White Lane, or saltysbbq.com.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
FIFA World Cup 2026 is coming soon, but your opportunity to be there starts now through an exclusive offer with an eligible Bank of America Visa credit card. For a limited time, become a new customized Cash Rewards or unlimited Cash Rewards Visa credit card holder, and you will be eligible for a chance to purchase FIFA World Cup 2026 tickets. Learn more at BofA.com/cardFWC26. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be the official bank of FIFA World Cup 2026. Bank of America NA in partnership with Visa. Terms apply. Warranties reserved.
This is McGruff the Crime Dog, and I need you to help me take a bite out of crime. Counterfeit products are popping up everywhere. Fake sneakers, fake cosmetics, and even fake pills. Crooks are selling counterfeit versions of just about everything. Last year, billions of dollars worth of counterfeit products were sold in the U.S. Sure, it may seem like saving a few bucks on the things you want isn't a big deal, but counterfeits are usually made in unsafe conditions, potentially using hazardous and even lethal ingredients that could harm you and others. And the money you paid, it goes right into the hands of criminals and may support child labor, drugs, and even gangs. Smells like big crime to me. So if you still think buying fake products is harmless, think again. And remember, we don't know where the products came from. How could you know where the money goes? You're smart, buy smart. Go for real. Learn more at McGruffPSA.org. This message is brought to you by the United States Patent and Trademark Office and the National Crime Prevention
Charlie
Council.
Kirk Show, weekdays at 6 p.m. on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
Okay, we've been going over what's wrong in California. I will dedicate a show to what's right in California. I don't know if I can explain this quickly enough, but years ago, when my husband was designing campaign ads, he made a list on a draft flyer, and one side said, what people in California want. And it was things like good education, jobs, good environment, and movie stars, and good weather, and things like that. And then it was, so what Californians want, and then it was what Californians have, movie stars and good weather. And I say that to you because we have created so much wrong in this state over the last 20 years, at least, and especially though since about 2006, 7, 8, and up till today. And I want to go through that in our next segment as to why it can change for the better, because all of you in California, not just here in Kern and in the wider Kern radio audience online and every other way. There is a solution to the politics in California. It's not demonstrated by ballot box results for a reason, and we can talk about that. And if you have any questions, I can share you. I'll give you my email, and I can send you this little packet I put together that explains how this happens. But this affordability business that all of a sudden is the latest political word that particularly the left has put out. Everything needs to be affordable. The new mayor of New York wants affordable housing, wants affordable food, restaurant costs, wants affordable grocery stores. So he's going to have the government run the grocery stores. That's going to really be a great thing to see. I can imagine how old the vegetables will be in there because they're not going to throw them away when they get old like the supermarkets in the private sector do to keep the best standards. They'll just leave it there. But that's just one thing. But we need to look at why they're using that word. They're using the word affordable as a criticism of the national government, even though the affordability is so much about your own state. For example, it says, in which 5 U.S. metro areas did the consumer price index rise by less than 2% over the last year? Okay, which 5, metropolitan areas did the U.S. consumer price index rise by less than 2% over the preceding year? These are the cities: Detroit, Dallas, Phoenix, and Atlanta. Okay, it's based on size, right, too. Now, which on average have increased by more than 3% in the last year? There's 4 cities. One is Philadelphia. The other 3, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Riverside. Okay, so that's in the whole nation. In the whole nation, the areas where the consumer price index rose the most were cities based in California, 3 of the 4. And Milton Friedman said this, that the affordability issue is very much a local phenomena. It's based on things that are going on within your state, not nationally. And so, yes, the Trump administration gets more news every day that you see on your phone, on your TV, radio, newspaper, all that. But they aren't why your costs are so high. And particularly with this president, he's doing everything he can to reduce the cost of government. But specific laws that make everything higher price here, our utilities, our homes, our water, our communication system, all those things are a factor of your local and state government. And we're going to talk more about that when we get back from this break. I'm hoping that you'll understand better. I know a lot of you do, but too many people don't. And then we need to point the finger at the right place and make the changes at the right place. We'll be right back.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump spoke with Russian President Putin Monday about his latest talks with Ukraine's leader.
President Trump told reporters he followed up his weekend meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago with a phone call to Vladimir Putin.
And it was a very productive talk. We have a few very thorny issues, as you can imagine.
A new issue, an alleged Ukrainian drone attack on Putin's residence in northwestern Russia.
That would not be good.
Trump said he'd not heard of the attack until Putin told him. Zelensky denies Russia's claims of an attack, calling it another lie to manipulate the peace process. I'm Ben Thomas.
Speaking to reporters after greeting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump says phase 2 of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas could go very quickly.
There has to be a disarmament, that disarm with Hamas. One of the things we'll talk about, certainly, but there has to be a disarming of Hamas. Otherwise, very quick. Yeah.
Hamas says it will not disarm. A strong winter storm system is heading east tonight. National Weather Service meteorologist Cody Snell says the storm will bring strong winds and heavy snow.
In addition to the winds, these strong winds moving across the Great Lakes, the warm lake waters clashing with the cold air moving over top will produce heavy lake effect snow across portions of the Great Lakes, including downwind of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, specifically into portions of New York State and just south of the Buffalo metro area.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average down by 249 points. The Nasdaq dropping by 118, with the S&P 500 index lower by 24. More on these stories at townhall.com.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save families up to $500 a month, and obviously that's a big deal, but they like it too, especially being part of something that reflects their values instead of working against them. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. Find out more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
A man hit and killed on Highway 99. I'm Chris Davis. That hit and run happened early this morning about 2:30, says the California Highway Patrol. That was in the third lane of 99 south of Taft Highway. Police say the guy was walking in the lane and was first hit by a vehicle that drove off. Then a Honda ran over the man as he lay in the lane. That driver stayed and talked to police. The man died at the scene, and his name has not yet been released. Police would appreciate a call if you know anything about the first vehicle. A police shooting also happened early this morning. A man who ran when police tried to pull over the car in which he was a passenger pulled a gun and was shot by the officer who was running after him, say reports from Bakersfield PD. That happened about 2:15 this morning at Mohawk Street and Sienna Lane in the northwest part of the city. The man was taken to the hospital, and police have not said anything about his condition. His name has not been made public, and neither has the name of the officer involved. If you've been following the story of the arrests of two people and the shooting death of 15-year-old Jacob Jesus Hernandez, which happened back on September 26th on Morning Drive, police now say a third person has been arrested. The person is 17 and no name has been released. That teenager was arrested on suspicion of murder and gang-related activities. The other two people who were arrested Saturday are Estevan Romero Valencia and Joshua Camarena. If you would like to help the folks in your community and you are a resident of Bakersfield, the city is looking to fill positions on some committees and commissions for the new year. That includes the Historic Preservation Commission, Keep Bakersfield Beautiful Committee, and the Police Civil Service Board, and Public Safety and Vital Services. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think? This is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You got to get up close like this. Little bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Welcome back. And I think I was remiss not mentioning or asking, I hope you all had a good Christmas. And now we're coming up upon New Year, and that it's been safe and family-oriented and good for you. I was listening to that news break just now, and again, I think about our local law enforcement who have to take on some of these crazy things, and that was 2:15 in the morning, and you know it's dark and somebody's shooting at you, and I just we have to say a prayer for our law enforcement all over this, well, the country, but particularly here. They try to keep us safe, and they sure deserve all our respect and support. And it's tragic that there are politicians urging people to stand up to law enforcement. But we've been talking about a lot of the problems going on in California. I want to tell you, when you think about people that make decisions that you don't have a lot of control over, but except to who you elect. But when I talked about the gas tax and that we tried to repeal it because it was such a huge increase, and that was 7 years ago in 2018. So we all go out and we worked real hard and got signatures for, you have to get 850,000 valid signatures. And so you have to collect, about 1.3 million because some people won't write their address right or their handwriting isn't legible or something. So it's a big, big job. And it goes on the ballot. And then you raise money to campaign for passing or opposing whatever the initiative. But if it's an initiative you promoted, you raise the money to promote it. And so on the repeal of the gas tax increase required a yes vote. Yes, I vote to repeal the increase in the gas tax. But most people don't think about the issue till they walk into it used to be walk into your polling place. Now when they finally vote their ballot that's mailed to their home. But back then, more people were voting at the polling place. We didn't have automatic live ballots mailed to our home and every address in the state twice. And the Attorney General at the time had been appointed by Jerry Brown, not elected, but appointed by Jerry Brown because he took the place of Kamala Harris, our erstwhile Attorney General, when she then had turned and run for the U.S. Senate. So he was appointed. And Xavier Becerra, and he spent most of his time challenging the Trump administration and what they were doing. But what he did after being sworn in was, when he had an opportunity on this initiative, he gets to write the statement that goes on your ballot about what the initiative is about. Yes, there's in the booklet that you get in the mail, they'll show people pro and con write comments, but the thing that's actually on that ballot that your eyes look at and describe it is written by an elected official in Sacramento, in this case, the Attorney General. And so the yes vote to repeal the gas tax, this is what he wrote on the ballot. A yes vote to repeal the gas tax will reduce the amount of money to repair roads. Now, do you think that's a fair assessment of why the gas tax repeal was put up on the ballot? Do you think the goal of everybody was to reduce the amount of money to repair roads? And by the way, who's going to vote for something that says, let's reduce how much money we have to repair roads? All right. It would never pass with that kind of an explanation from the Attorney General. In the old days, and I'll say this is pre-2004, the 70s, 80s, 90s, when initiatives were getting active, the Attorney Generals didn't play games. They didn't try to promote their side. They just wrote it very straight. And the straight would have been to say this would reduce the current gas sales tax from X to Y. And I think people all would have voted for it. But so because it said a yes vote will reduce the amount of money to repair roads, the measure was defeated about 57% yes, 43% no. And so the power in these offices that you maybe dismiss when you're voting on your ballot, that you know who's running for governor, but you maybe don't know the others. There's power in these other offices that make decisions like this one that ruined the opportunity. In fact, I told the people that were promoters of the initiative to repeal the gas tax increase. Again, this is $14 in every tank that you pay goes to Gavin Newsom. I said, hey, you better sue and go to court because that's not a fair writing. That's not a fair description of that ballot. It's taking sides. And they said, well, but it'll take time to go to a lawyer, to go to court. It's slow, which is an indictment still to me about our court system that it takes so long. So they didn't do it. They went to the ballot box and they lost. And we've been living with it now for 8 years, 9 years almost, and we're paying for it. It's just another thing added to your cost. And so it is important to watch and know, so that when Xavier Becerra then runs for other offices like he's done, that you remember that he's why the gas tax failed. So I hope you these little tidbits you might think about is too, there is a real impact, even in the words spoken or printed by elected officials, that becomes something in front of all the voters. It can have real impact. I think it's tragic that that measure was defeated. And just think of the $14 every time you fill a tank that you'd have in your pocket today, multiplied by the number of times you filled your tank in the last 8 years. Okay, that's real money. It's real serious what he did, and it's real money that you lost. So that's why I share it with you. I've mentioned this before, and I want to bring it up as to why there aren't more conservatives elected in California, either to Congress or the state assembly or the state Senate. Why is it that there's 52 congressional seats in California, from the northern border at Oregon all the way down to San Diego? 52 seats, all equal population. I think the number right now is something like 850,000 people, 900,000 people in each district. And that's how we get California. Congress comes up with the number based on population of the United States. And that's the population of California, and that's how many seats we get. But there's 52 California congressional seats. We have, as I said, 2 of them here. Vince Vaughn has half a kern, Valadeo has half a kern. Valadeo goes more west, and Vince Vaughn's district goes more north to include Fresno. But they're all equal population, supposedly. But the number of Republicans in Congress, of those 52 seats, the number that got elected was 9. 9 out of 52, okay? And in the Assembly and Senate, that's in the state Capitol building, in the Assembly, there's 80 seats in the Assembly. And the number in the Assembly, I don't have it, I think I do have it in front of me, but it's equally low, is about and the Assembly is about 18 or 20, I don't have it in front, but that's out of 80. So understand that it would take eons of effort and changes to try to get 25% of the vote or 33% of the vote, which none of that gives you anything, only 51%. Yeah, out of the Assembly 80, there's about 20 Republican seats. Out of the state Senate, there's 40 seats in the state Senate. How many elect Republicans? Of those 40, it's about 10 a dozen right now. It can vary a little bit. Out of 40, so again, not 20%, not 30%, not 49%, and not 51%. So it's impossible. The vote that matters when an assemblyman or state senator gets elected is who they vote for speaker, who they vote for state Senate leader, just like in Congress, who you vote for Speaker of the House. So you say, when you hear this, you say, well, Cathy, your problem is you don't have enough people that want to vote Republican. And, but I disagree. I believe that they are voting for Republican candidates, but you're not seeing the results in the final ballots by the way these seats are drawn. So California has 23 million voters, 23 million. Of those, 10 million are Democrats. Of the 23 million, take out 10 million, so now you've got 13 million. 5.5 million are Republican, 5 million are no party preference. That's a growing party of no party preference, mainly because the DMV pushes, particularly when young people, 15-and-a-half-year-olds, get a permit, they hit them up right then to pre-register, and they tell them, how about you pre-register to vote? And the 15-and-a-half-year-old says, I don't know, I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about how many inches from the curb the car has to be so I can pass this test. So they say, well, just register NPP, no party preference. And that's what they do. And that's why it's grown over the last 15 years since government got involved in registering voters. So that's 5 million. And then other miscellaneous smaller parties is 1.5 million. But when you add the Republican and the no party preference, those are people that don't prefer either party, but they're young people who just did that out of ignorance. At 15-and-a-half, I don't think they know what party they want. It's about 50-50, right? Democrat versus Republican or NPP. So that chart then is about half the state votes for a Democrat and about half the state is either for Republican or they're not passionate about either party. Well, I looked at November 2022. Okay, that's the last time we voted for governor. Gavin Newsom was elected. We ran someone named Brian Dolly. Nice man, brilliant man, very good guy. Represented a assembly seat way up in Northern California. So his name was D-A-H-L-E. It's hard to pronounce. We didn't spend a lot of money on him, but he got 41% of the vote for governor against an incumbent governor, Gavin Newsom, 41%. So then I looked at, well, that's how the governor race went. What about all the other statewide races? Remember, a statewide race, you vote, the whole state votes on that. It's not broken up. So I looked at the U.S. Senate race, and the Republican got 39% of the vote. He lost, but he got 39% of the vote. Secretary of State, Republican got 40% of the vote. Lieutenant Governor, the Republican got 41%. Treasurer, Attorney General, Insurance Commissioner, Controller. In every one of those races, some of them got up to 45% of the vote with no money. I need to add that caveat. No money, no name title, no title, public official, nothing, just Cathy Abernathy person, or lawyer or whatever they might have been. They weren't incumbents, but they were getting 40 to 45% of the statewide vote. Okay? So I question, if a person with no name, no money, running against a Democrat statewide can get 40 to 45% of the vote, how come we have 10 and 17% of the seats in these various houses, Congress, Senate, Assembly? How come? I want you to think about how come, because we probably have to take a break here and think about how can it be that some Republicans with no money, no title, are getting 45%. That means 6% more they would have won. Why are they getting those numbers statewide, but we don't have hardly anybody in the Congress, Senate, or Assembly? This is Cathy Abernathy on the Ralph Bailey Show with our lecture number 1, and we'll be back right after this.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
The JR Show. Former Kern County Supervisor Zach Scribner will never see a day in jail, and it's all because of who he knows. His aunt is the district attorney, Cynthia Zimmer, but her sister, Cathy Scribner, sits on the Kern High School District Board. She's the one that called the district attorney the night this all went down, and she's been trying to cover it up ever since, whether she's mad at her sister now for calling the sheriff or whether she's telling the kids to not talk to the police. You, Miss Cathy Scribner, need to step down from your elected position and need to be held on obstruction charges.
Weekdays at 2 p.m.
Children everywhere are making lists and checking them twice. But for Native American children, holiday wishes can look a lot different.
My holiday wish is to be warm.
Many of these boys and girls live in deep poverty and have for generations.
I wish for a yummy holiday meal.
But for the students who spend much of their year at St. Joseph's Indian School, the holidays aren't just about wishes. They're about hope for the future.
My holiday wish is to have a brighter future. And thanks to St. Joe's, it's coming true.
And at St. Joseph's, an impressive 96% of students graduate high school, putting their dreams and wishes within reach.
Happy holidays from all of us at St. Joseph's Indian School.
Learn how holiday wishes come true at stjo.org today.
Download to see if you qualify for Albert Instant Advance. Not all customers will qualify. Transfer fees may apply. No Albert subscription is required for Instant Advance. Please see the Albert app or albert.com for subscription pricing. Subscriptions can be canceled at any time.
Kylie, what's wrong? I just got hit with a car repair bill. I'm behind on rent, and I feel like I can never save any money.
Have you tried the Albert app? You can get up to a $1,000 advance fast to pay for car repairs, bills, rent, groceries, whatever you need. Plus, Albert can help you find ways to save and give you a custom budget to actually grow your money.
Albert can get me up to $1,000?
Exactly. But they do more than get you up to $1,000. Albert is your financial assistant, helping you budget, save, and spotting you money in a pinch.
I'm downloading Albert right now.
Download the Albert app and use promo code MONEY to get up to $1,000 for your bills, rent, groceries, and more. The Albert app helps you budget better and save more money so you reach your financial goals faster. Download the Albert app right now and use promo code MONEY to get up to $1,000. Use code MONEY to get up to $1,000.
10 athletes will face the toughest job interview in fitness that will push past physical and mental breaking points. You are the fittest of the fit. Only one of you will leave here with an iFit contract for $250,000.
This is when mindset comes in.
Someone will be eliminated.
Pressure is coming down.
Trainer Games on Prime Video, January 8th. Watch the trailer on trainergames.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife, and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
Okay, so Poli-Sci 101 here. We're talking about why it is that 2022, okay, Gavin Newsom's second re-election time turned into re-election, and how all these Republican candidates with no money, no name for other statewide offices got 40 to 45% of the vote. And then but yet we have 10 and 20% of the Assembly and State Senate. But then I looked at November 2024, last year, which was, of course, no gubernatorial race, but presidential race in California. And both for Senate, Steve Garvey, who in my book, I didn't see him spend any money running, but, and Donald Trump, who never campaigned here because that's another day we can discuss the Electoral College and why that impacts that. But Trump and Steve Garvey each got 40% of the statewide vote. Okay, so you go back to saying, but Cathy, how come we're only getting, what are those Republicans doing? They're not voting. They vote for Republican for president. They vote for Republican for controller. They don't even know what the controller does. They vote for Republican for U.S. Senate. How does this happen? That we only have 17% of the congressional seats, which will go down to 9% when it's because of this Prop 50. And 23% of the Assembly and 25%. You can't do anything with those numbers of the state Senate. You can't stop anything with those numbers. And we are in this mire, and I'm trying to explain what we can do so we can. What's the distinction, okay? What is the distinction as to why we can't win? We can get so well and do so well statewide, but we can't do very well when it comes to individual districts. Because the districts, you can't change the border of California, okay? That's firm. You can't change that. But you can draw these other seats, 80 Assembly, 40 Senate, 52 Congressional. You can draw them any way you want if you have a body that's doing it that can get away with it. And the redistricting commission that was passed by Common Cause and Arnold Schwarzenegger and a lot of money from labor, they created a commission, and they're all, I can't even tell you how little politically astute they are in terms of even handling what that job is. It is run by the State Bureau of Auditors. Those are state employees who benefit from a big state budget and run by a state auditor who's appointed by the governor. That's who handled redistricting of the districts in California. So how are they going to draw it to be fair? They said, oh, we'll draw it with communities of interest, keeping people together that have a community of interest. Well, let me tell you what those communities of interest are. And you tell me if you think that would draw you into a district with anyone across the street even, right? This is what they are. Common social and economic interests. Urban, rural, transportation, shared transportation systems. Okay, so I live on 99 and somebody in Chico lives on 99. So You can draw the seat any way you want because we share the same transportation system, living standards, work opportunities. Okay, so we have policemen in a community and we have neurosurgeons in a community. Well, every community has those. So why is that a community of interest? Access to the same media. Well, that pretty much says everybody in LA County, right? They all have the same media, and we all have the same media today, even more so than before we had internet and everything. So it's so broad that you can play games, and they played games, and they drew these seats, so they are impossible to elect by. Like, they'll take a chunk of Los Angeles County, a heavy Democrat area, and then they'll pick up maybe 200,000 out of Riverside County or 200,000 out of Orange County, but not enough to make it a electable seat for a non-Democrat, but enough to make it hard in the other county to elect a Republican because they just stole them and put them in a seat null and void. And so that's what they did. And that's how we got these seats. And the legislature, of course, just did it last fall with Prop 50. They played a game and drew out another 5 or 6 congressmen. How can this be changed? How can we have a system more fair? Well, and let me tell you, if you did this just by the 40% that I'm telling you, just people voting 40% for a Republican running for Congress in fair districts, there would be 20 more California Republican congressmen, 20 plus the ones that we had, the 9. So why is it that we don't have it? And that's why we need to have a change in the way redistricting is done. Simple solution. We have computers, we have ChatGPT, we have AI, we can do this so easily. And that is one rule: honor city and county lines. The less you break them, the more fair your plan. Okay, honor city and county lines. Okay, look at this county. We've got a piece of outside of Mojave, Cal City, that there's another congressman. We have Bakersfield 06 Country Club area there, split into 2 different congressional districts. Lodi is in 2 or 3 congressional districts, and most of you know how small Lodi is. How does that happen? Because they're picking and choosing the voters to pack them into a seat to elect more Democrats than Republicans. So simple. If we just said honor city and county lines, the less you break them, the better your plan. The computer would spit it out. It would tell you how many times a city line or a county line was broken. And that's an easy way to say this plan broke them the least. That would be the most fair plan. Anything is more fair than what we have. But that's what I would hope to see people understand, that it's doable, and it would make the business in Sacramento more competitive. Even if we had 40% of the seats in Sacramento, there's some things that require 33 minimum. We could stop some things that need 50% of the vote. So the other thing it allows these liberals to get away with up there is that they don't have to vote on most tough votes, because there's so many of them. They can take a pass. So they get their per diem, they get their salary, and they don't vote because someday they want to run statewide and not have a bad vote. I'm talking fast because we're going right now to a commercial break, and we will come back and answer more about this and other subjects. Thank you.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A Utah judge has ordered the release of a transcript from a closed-door hearing in October over whether the man charged with killing Charlie Kirk must be shackled during court proceedings. State District Judge Tony Graff said Monday in ordering the transcripts released that public transparency was foundational to the judicial system. Graff had earlier rejected a request by the defense that Tyler Robinson not be shackled. President Trump warned Iran on Monday that the U.S. could carry out further military strikes if the country attempts to reconstitute its nuclear program, as he held wide-ranging talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his home in Florida. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 249 points. The Nasdaq dropped 118. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
A hit and run on Highway 99 south of Taft Highway about 2:30 this morning has left a man dead. The Highway Patrol says the man was hit twice, once by a vehicle that left the scene and then again by a Honda. That driver stayed and is cooperating with the cops. The man's name has not been released. A Bakersfield police officer shot a man this morning around the same time in the northwest part of the city. Police say the man was running from the officer after he bailed from a car that police had tried to pull over, then pulled a gun, resulting in his being shot. That was at Mohawk Street and Sienna Lane. The man is in the hospital. Insulin will be capped at $35 for copay starting in January thanks to a new law in California. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I was always tired, sleepy, and had no energy.
I had relentless, debilitating headaches.
Valley fever has many faces and impacts people differently. If you have a lingering cough, fever, or painful breathing for more than 2 weeks, talk to your doctor.
I am Quan Louie.
I am Bryn Kerrigan.
And we are the faces of Valley Fever.
Visit kernpublichealth.com to learn more.
The new year starts with the Condors this weekend with 2 games against the San Jose Barracuda. Friday, it's a $3 beer Friday with Michelob Ultra and Mango Cart just $3 till the start of the second period. Plus, it's 80s night with music from the decade. Saturday is Wizard Night with house scarves just $5. Come dressed as your favorite wizard. Presented by 23 ABC and 3-Way Chevrolet. Doors open at 6. The puck drops at 7. Fun starts at just $15 at condorstown.com or by calling 324-PUCK. Is Condors Town.
Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, we will be without the services of Lois Henry from sjbwarner.org, but we'll make up for it with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, and we're streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
All right, we're in our last half hour of the Ralph Bailey Show. This is Cathy Abernathy, and I'm so appreciative to get an opportunity to share some of these thoughts with you. And I hope that those of you who have listened off and on during the last couple hours are getting a picture of what's happening to our lives and why it's happening, and maybe a good solution to solve it. So to finish off what I was chatting about earlier, which was just now, was about how to make these congressional, assembly, and state senate seats in California competitive and not gerrymandered. Famous term from along Elbridge Jerry, I guess is how it went. Anyway, how to make them not so gerrymandered so that it predicts, no matter how you vote, it predicts who's going to win because they have packed certain parties into certain districts. What can we do? How can we make the change? Again, the voters in the state, one thing we have, even though it's been hurt a lot by changes made to the laws, that we have the ability to do an initiative where the people can produce a law, put it up, get the signatures to put it on the ballot, and campaign for it. Unfortunately, the legislature just goes up there on a salary of $150,000 a year plus per diem, and they can vote, walk in the floor of the assembly, and they can vote to draw out 6 California congressional seats into making them mandatory Democrat seats overnight. But for the rest of us to make a change, we have to collect 850,000 voter signatures on a ballot proposal, which is what my goal is. If I can get the support, it takes a lot of financial support because volunteers can probably come up with 10 to 15% maybe of the signatures, but you have to hire people to work at shopping malls and places to get signatures. I want to do that. I want to get it on the November 28 ballot. I want to put a stop to this one-man rule we have in Sacramento, which is it's all about the most leftist Democrats in complete power up there, and it needs a change. And then in Congress, think if we had 20 from California instead of 6 Republicans back there, it'd be a lot easier to do things in the House of Representatives. They have such a short margin of 2 or 3 seats that anybody gets sick and everybody has to run and hide so they don't get the same thing. But so that's what I have. So what do I need? I need you to find somebody with $2.5 million who will share it with me, and not share it with me, share it to an initiative to hire signature gatherers and get it on the ballot to make this change and give Californians a chance to get out of the kind of laws that Sacramento keeps putting on us. Any of you that want to see this in a written fashion with some interesting charts, it's not deep, you can email me and I'll send it to you. My email, Abernathy, C for Cathy, Abernathy at libertystar.net. And you're welcome if you would like to have me send you this little packet I made of what I was just discussing so you can see it for yourself. But I saw this. I'm going to just digress here for a moment. This young woman, I don't know how people grow up thinking that they can somehow change the world by taking other people's money, and particularly change the world for themselves, and punish people who have more money than they do. Instead of being, envious is fine if you go out and work hard to be like that. But if it's envious to the point you want to steal it from them, no, I thought we had laws about that, but they do it through tax codes. So this woman that the Bakersfield Californian considered her commentary was, I guess, brilliant enough to share. She's a college student at Stanford. So she's in one of the most expensive colleges in America. And she's a minority, I guess. I don't know about it in this state, but maybe in other states. But her point is to get more money for people to go to college. When I thought we had a student loan program, we just expect you to pay it back. I know Joe Biden didn't expect you to pay it back, but Donald Trump expects you to pay it back. So, but she got into Stanford through a whole lot of programs that spent money on her, so her scores would be higher on her tests and everything. And she got into Stanford, so she wants to do it for everybody. But instead of her working hard and getting a job, making a couple million herself, she wants to penalize anyone who has part-time homes in California. She wants to charge them a fee to penalize them, so that money, but in her mind, they're helping. She's going to take that money and she's going to spend it on her and her friends that are struggling to get into Stanford when, we have the University of California, we have the state colleges, we have the community colleges, we have all options. Stanford decided to charge a lot of money. That's their problem. It shouldn't be our taxpayer problem. But she says that that's the best solution, that non-resident homeowners should contribute to programs that keep the community strong. So I guess people will just not have 2 homes, and they won't have a home in Bakersfield or Los Angeles, so that they get away from having to pay her fee. But this is what somebody's teaching young people, that your problems are solved by getting other people's money. And my dad went to UC Berkeley, and he peeled potatoes at a fraternity house or something. And that's how he got his meals, and that's how he made some money. And of course, UC Berkeley wasn't as criminally charging as they charge tuition today. Just like when I went to UCLA today, I think it's 17,000% higher than when I went. And I didn't go 100 years ago. I know you probably think that's a response, but let's go to education, okay? Which we have the lowest scores now for high school students in math and reading in 25 years. And they like to always say, COVID. If you can't read by 3rd grade, doesn't matter if COVID comes up 15 years later or 10 years later, it means you didn't learn to read. And so these national test scores are showing, not just California, this is nationwide, but 45%. These are national test programs that have been going on forever, so don't blame the test company. 45% of seniors in high school are below basic, that's below basic in math, And 32% of high school seniors are below basic in reading. Again, you're taught to read by third grade because after that, they really don't teach reading. They're expecting that you are a reader. So somehow the public school system, because they make an exclusion here, scores at charter schools have not fallen like this. Charter and private schools. So the question is, in all these exams, reading, math, and science, in all these exams, students scored on level lower than on the most recent exam in 2019. So they're getting even lower at this point. So they're lower than they were in 1992. So our school system in 30 years is doing worse than it was doing back then in terms of results. The kids aren't born less intelligent. Okay. The teachers aren't trying to fail them. But something's going wrong. And that's with billions and billions and billions of dollars being spent on public education. And how much more do we qualify this that we're going to let our schools just sink? And so now what's happening is the colleges, to make up for it, when they get to college, the college is having, I don't think, they probably don't want to say the word remedial because that would embarrass somebody. But they're having introductory courses to teach students what they should have learned in high school. They're doing that in college. Even Harvard is teaching basic algebra. So I'm getting this information from Wall Street Journal Education Disaster. And the question is, we can't think California's not doing any better in all these studies. And it isn't any one, I don't put any blame one place. I'll start with the parents, because if the kids aren't learning, the parents should be helping. They should be working with them at home. Likewise, the teachers should be held to a standard that they're not passing these kids off when they're not prepared and moving them on up, because if you held them back in second or third grade and taught them reading again for a year, maybe it would help. This shocked me. This is seniors in high school. More than 30% of seniors report missing 3 or more days of school in the last month. Now, that's so serious, but they either think it's boring or they don't give a darn. And then when they get out of high school, then we have to start paying for their lifestyle, because then they're going to be on welfare, and then they're going to be on every government program that exists, and yet they're missing school. And so again, in the old days, my old days, I didn't do this, but that's when parents were dragged into the school when their kids were missing an absentee lesson. I drive down Brimhall near Liberty High School in mid-morning, and I see them pouring out, walking across the street to buy junk food at some of these places on the corner there. And I wonder, are they going to go back? Because they're walking so slow, there's no way there's that much time between classes. But this is 10:30 in the morning, and I'm just stunned by that sometime. And if any of you are parents listening and your kids are coming home at 10:30, 11:30 in the morning after buying junk food at that shopping mall there, you got to wonder if things are going well for them, because I don't think it is. We can't pull these kids up if they're not in school, if they're not doing homework at home, if they're not reading a book. As you recall, I was teaching at a community college that serves all of Kern County, or at least western Kern County and Bakersfield. And what I found was a lot of them, age 18 to 35, just aren't reading. They're not reading books. They don't learn history through a program where they see the whole cycle of our history, of our American history. I told you when I taught, I first said to the students, well, you're going to pass the naturalization test before you take a poli-sci class from me, because I don't want you to be ignorant of the basics that a person has to know to be a citizen. So I picked out 30 questions, some of the questions on naturalization are what's the largest river in the United States. I didn't do that, but I put political questions. And so I gave him the questions, I gave him the answers, then I gave him the test. And for example, this was when Pelosi was speaker. It said, who's Speaker of the House? And somebody wrote just Tammy. That's all they wrote, Tammy. And I think, really? You didn't grasp any more of a name that, okay, but then this is what really bothered me. The question was, Eisenhower was a general before he was president. What war was he a general in? Do you all know that answer to that? What war was Eisenhower a general in before he was the president? I must have had 25% of the class, obviously they didn't study, but still say Civil War, which tells you so many things. They don't know what war he was a general in. They don't know when he was president, what year or even decade. They don't know when World War II was. They don't know that he was one of the key leaders in World War II, which is why they're sitting here free in America. But they don't know that. And I fault this constant reading, either whether it's on a phone or at school on laptops. When you have a history book that spells out history in order, and you know that the first chapter is that, and towards the end, this happened there, and this happened halfway through, and you know what century you're studying U.S. history. I think that helps, but it's pretty tragic to be between 18 and 35 and think that Eisenhower was a general in the Civil War. But that's just, I've got more than that I could share with you. But my point isn't that they're ignorant, it's that the way we're teaching isn't working. And the way they're living isn't working. And if the parent doesn't spend time on those students who aren't avid. In fact, this young woman at Stanford complained about how high the admissions at Stanford were of Asian students. Well, by golly, one thing I'll say, they work hard, they study hard, and so they're smart. But she's complaining about that too. So I say this about education, that we cannot, if you're going to have heart surgery or something important, you better get a doctor who's over 55 years old, because you don't know whether the ones that are coming up got in because of special considerations, DEI, whether their high schools just kept moving them on and the college moved them on. You don't know what you're getting. So that's my pitch for doctors. But anyway, we'll lighten it up a little, come back after this last commercial break. And if you have any thoughts, you're welcome to text, and Chris will get your message to me. This is the Ralph Bailey Show. Cathy Abernathy filling in.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Tuesday edition of the First Look program, we will be without the services of Lois Henry from SJBwater.org, but we'll make up for it with state-of-the-art news and traffic and weather. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1, and we're streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Gail?
When I retired, I just let all my taxes pile up. I had gotten many threatening letters. The one that said they were going to try and take my property was probably the scariest. When I found out that I owed close to $300,000, I was in total shock. It was a bad situation. I didn't know what to do.
Then Gail found tax relief advocates.
When TRA told me I was only going to owe $368, I just was in total disbelief.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Gail did and call TRA for a consultation.
I was so blessed with TRA.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-544-7357. 800-544-7357. That's 800-544-7357.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Norma Diaz, owner of La Rosa Fruit Bars and Ice Cream.
Hi, I'm Norma Diaz from La Rosa Fruit Bars and Ice Cream, and I'm a client and friend of Paul Sheldon. I've known Paul for many, many years, and my parents happened to be his first clients. So, of course, I called Paul and immediately felt this peace come over me, knowing that I didn't have to freak out about making a big decision. His knowledge about Medicare and your health insurance needs are beyond compare, and I was taken care of immediately by his wonderful staff. He knew everything that I needed and what I wouldn't need, so I was pretty much in and out of there in record time. If you're getting to that age or you're going to be needing to know about Medicare, then he's the one to call. He will totally help you out and get you pointed in the right direction. You're going to leave there feeling a great accomplishment and no concerns. And even if you have questions later, his staff can help you out. Those feelings are just priceless to me. So call Paul. You'll be glad you did.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298. You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
All right, we're winding down the show. I've enjoyed filling in for Ralph. It's a big job he's got to talk a lot but I think it's fun to have a chance to bring on some really good folks. And today we had experts on energy, and of course Katie Grimes. I can't praise her enough to all of you to please Google and read California Gold. They have good analysis of everything going on in Sacramento, and our Congressman Vince Fong as well. He's on some pretty important committees right now. Then he knows a lot of bad stuff going on that we've got to be on the security committee that we've got to be glad that he's watching it. And as he pointed out, we got trouble right here in the Mojave Desert with dangerous things going on. But I want to share this piece that it was written by somebody else, and then I kind of slightly revised pieces of it. And again, there are good Democrats in this country. There are good Democrats in California, but the people in the majority in the California Capitol and in Washington, D.C. that are Democrats right now are so far left that they've driven us to pretty dangerous levels. So this is kind of a fun way to look at reasons. These are 6 reasons that I voted Democrat. Not I, Cathy, but somebody could say this. I voted Democrat because I believe oil companies' profits of 4% on a gallon of gas is obscene. But our California politicians taxing the same gallon of gas at $14 a tank isn't. Okay, so oil company profits at 4% on a gallon of gas is obscene, but our California politicians taxing the same gallon of gas at $14 a tank, that's okay. I believe the government does a better job spending money I earn than I do. That's what you do when you let the government keep taxing you and say they're going to do more for you. They're going to spend more of your money. So you believe the government does a better job spending your money than you do if you voted Democrat in California. I believe that people who can't tell us if it will rain on Friday somehow can tell us the polar ice caps will melt in 10 years if I don't start driving a Prius. I like that one. But yeah, all these folks that say the sky is falling on the environment and everything, when we have the strictest rules of the whole world, and yet they treat our science and technology people without the respect they all deserve on what they've done to help solve a lot of those problems for us. I voted Democrat because I believe liberal judges need to rewrite the Constitution every few years to suit some fringe kooks who would never get their agendas past the voters. And that's, of course, this fear that if Democrats take over the U.S. Senate, they're going to push to enlarge the Supreme Court so they can appoint, if they have a Democrat president and a Democrat Senate, so they can appoint judges to change the Supreme Court, because it's voting conservative. It's been voting very liberal, and the Republicans didn't try to change it, but they're going to try to do that. I voted Democrat because I believe I'm way too irresponsible to own a gun, and all I need are my local police to protect me from murderers and thieves. And as we've said in the past, if you believe that people shouldn't be allowed to own guns responsibly with all that, then we have a sign you can put at your front door that there are no guns in this house. And then this final one, I voted Democrat because I believe it's better to pay billions for oil to people who hate us, but not drill our own because it might upset some endangered beetles, gopher, or fish. That's probably my favorite one on there because that is so true. That's exactly what we're doing in this state and this nation till Trump has been doing, that it's better to pay billions for oil to people who hate us. This is Venezuela, China, Iraq, all those places, but not drill our own because it might upset some endangered beetles, gopher, or fish. That's California today. So I hope you enjoy those. If you want this list, I'll send it to you as well.
I do have a listener who is asking for your email to be repeated.
Okay. My email is cabernathy, CABERNATHY, at Liberty Star, one word, libertystar.net.
Make that a little bit easier for everybody. The rule of radio, Cathy, you have to say everything 3 times.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that. I believe I would have thought of 2, but if it's radio's 3, that's a good point because, well, they're driving, they're walking by their phone or whatever it's on. Good point. No, I appreciate it. I'll send you the information. I'll send you this little sheet too, because it's kind of fun and it's hard to argue with. It's pretty hard to argue with. I don't know if you heard this sheet before.
I have not.
We pass it out at the fair, and
do you really?
Yeah, in the booth. Yeah, Republican booth. But it's pretty straight to the point.
Oh yeah. I've heard at least 2 or 3 of those said to me a couple times. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're not far off when it comes to these are the things that you hear all the time when you know why they vote a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, you're giving away so much to a politician when you vote for people who say, I'm going to do this for you, that for you, and all that. So I think I find it hard to believe. I don't know what you do, Chris. Do you think Gavin Newsom could get majority of Americans to vote for him?
No.
You don't?
No, there's no way. Everything that he's done here, there's just no possible way.
If they know everything, which I guess if they have friends here who'll fill them in on the price of everything.
It'll come out during the race, though. It's just like Kamala. It always comes to the surface eventually.
Yeah, it'd be great if the 2 of them were the 2 leading contenders. But we will see. I think there's a brighter day ahead for California. I think people are getting more wiser. Our kids under 18 need a little more education, though, so we'll give away the story yet. But thank you all for listening, and I will be glad to share with you my political info that I share.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump weighed in on Iran and ceasefire talks with Hamas as Israel's prime minister paid him a visit.
The president is hearing talk from Israel. Iran may be trying to rebuild its nuclear program. Back in June, the president